Beautiful Insanity of the Souls. Part 36. They stretch into 30 minutes, use her best 4 songs from her new album and make it a short. It's instant classic. Must see Your Eyes debuts number 1. Later, Lewis, who is inspired by Taylor Swift's love story, writes If Romeo and Juliet, what if Romeo comes on time as Juliet awakes? He takes the story from there. Juliet, played by India Isley, awakes just in time as Romeo is about to drink the poison. They kiss passionately. A new chapter begins. Romeo and his family of Montague make peace with Juliet and her family of Capulet. Romeo and Juliet get married in a big wedding ceremony and move to Rome. Later, Romeo is drafted to fight the Turks, who invade the Roman Empire. At the battle, Romeo seems invincible, eradicates the Turks as if they were bad karma and nightmares, saves Mark's life, the general, and returns to Rome as a hero. They have a big victory celebration party. General Mark praises Romeo and makes him second commander-in-chief. Next to him, Juliet is present. She is proud of Romeo. He walks up to her and tells her the kingdom of heaven means nothing without her. They kiss intimately. She then sees a charismatic man named Seth. He is a poet. Juliet is attracted to him. Later, when Romeo is discussing with the general about the war, Seth approaches Juliet and compliments her beauty with a poem. There is Romeo whom she loves more than life itself, and he's being honored as a hero. Here is Seth, a stranger to her heart whom she is attracted to without the permission of her soul. Something about him appealing that she can't pinpoint. Maybe it is charm. She thinks the devil is testing her, resists the temptation and gets back to Romeo. He asks her to dance. They come to the dance floor, dance with a traditional song, kiss and make love surrounded by candles. Next, Romeo has to leave to a battle versus the Turks, promises Juliet he will return. At the battle, Romeo and the Romans massacre the Turks like William Wallace and Scottish warriors in Braveheart. Yet the Turks have saved their best for last. They hit them hard, kill all of them including Mark. Romeo is the only person who is standing on his feet, just wouldn't quit, continues to kill the Turks alone as if he were possessed by a supernatural force. Tim, the general of the Turks, is impressed, can't believe what he is looking at and doubts if he is a human being. Romeo has an arrow in chest and is cutting the Turks into pieces as if they were the demons in hell. Hundreds of Turks surround him. Tim says not to kill him, wants him alive. Romeo doesn't want to surrender and would rather die than give them an inch, but has promised Juliet he will return back to her. Romeo finally gives up and surrenders without the approval of his willpower. They bring him to the palace. Romeo stands shackled with metal chains like a beast before Lydia, the queen of Turks. She is one of the most beautiful women in the world. Tim tells her that Romeo kills hundreds of well-trained Turks. He is a warrior. Tim has never seen anything like him. She says to put him in prison at her palace. In the meantime, in Rome, Juliet gets a false news. Romeo is killed in the war, cries for days, and stricken by grief, comes to a bridge to commit suicide. At the last second, Seth holds her and saves her life. She cuddles him, cries on his shoulder and looks at his eyes. Juliet is enthralled by him. Later, in the other part of the world, Lydia visits Romeo, who is kept at a luxurious prison cell, looks like a guest room preserved for kings and queens who might have committed treason without their knowledge and soon would be forgiven for any wrongdoing, figuratively speaking. But it looks neat. She tells him she is in love with him, removes her cloth and enters his cell nude. Romeo is chained. She kisses him. He seems not interested despite the fact she looks like a goddess from the highest order of heavens. Her beauty is unmatched, rivals even to Juliet. She is disappointed, puts on her cloth and leaves. He looks at her with a little bit longing. The truth is Romeo is attracted to her but loves Juliet more than life itself and wants to get back to her. In Rome, Juliet has moved on, begins to spend a lot time with Seth. They ride on a small boat, floating on the lake, have picnicking near the water, read poems, remove their cloth nude and swim. They then kiss in the middle of the lake. In the other hand, Romeo has been painting, only draws the face of Juliet, and has drawn hundreds of Juliet's portraits from his memory. Later, they give Romeo clean cloth, shave his beard and all. Lydia invites him for supper. He looks like Cupid, the son of Zeus. They sit at the dinner table. The attendants serve them all kinds of appetizing foods. Lydia asks him what she should do to make him fall in love with her. Romeo tells her Lydia is one of the most beautiful women he has ever seen in his life, but his heart belongs to Juliet. Romeo promised Juliet he would return to her. Lydia says she can't let him leave yet. He's supposed to be executed, but the Turks need him to train their soldiers and fight the Persians, and she might grant him his freedom. In Rome, Seth and Juliet make love at Seth's house. Meanwhile, Lydia brings Romeo to her bedroom. There is a painting canvas. She removes her cloth, lies on the bed nude and asks him to draw her portrait. Romeo does her nude portrait. She then gets up and kisses him. He kisses her. He is human being. They make love all night surrounded by candles. Later, Romeo trains the Turks, leads them to a fight against the Persian, and they return victorious. Romeo makes love to Lydia, tells her that he must return to Juliet, and she may have his flesh as long as she wants to if she decides to hold him against his wish, but his heart and soul belong to Juliet forever and ever. There are tears in Lydia's eyes. She tells him she will miss him more than the beat of her hearts and lets him go. But Tim tells Romeo to help them. The Persians have just killed a lot of innocent people and burned down everything. Tim takes Romeo to a small town and shows him what the Persians did. They are going to come to the capital city and does the same thing. Romeo fears Persians might harm Lydia and agrees to help them. Romeo and the Turks fight Persians like 300, going on slaughtering rampage and raising hell at their enemies' souls. But the Persians overwhelm the Turks and kills all of them, the exception of Romeo. He lies in the middle of hundreds of dead bodies. There is an arrow on the side of stomach. Romeo slowly removes the arrow, blood pouring out, and lies in agony. Juliet feels Romeo's pain from miles away. Her eyes fill with tears. She missed him more than the stars in the skies. Meanwhile, Romeo gets up on his feet, walks in the desert, travels for miles and then collapses from dehydration. When he opens his eyes, he finds himself in a cage with gladiators. Romeo is a prisoner. They are guarded by Persian warriors. A gladiator named Jambo treats Romeo, gives him water. Romeo drinks the water and asks him where they are taking them. Jambo runs his hands across his neck, making slitting sign. It means they are going to kill them. Jambo is trying to scare Romeo, or maybe not. The fact is they are taking them to Tehran. The Persians have built a stadium where gladiators fight to death. They got the idea from the Roman. You don't find that in any history book. Regardless, Romeo, Jambo and the rest of the gladiators arrive to Tehran, come to the stadium. Princess Eva visits them, looks at Romeo and falls in love with him at sight despite the fact he looks weak, hungry, wounded and lost, orders the guards to feed him and treat his wound. They feed Romeo a little bit, patch up his wound, give him a sword and shield and send him to the stadium to fight with the rest of the gladiators. It's the same thing like Gladiators starring Russell Crowe. Persian soldiers attack them, kill a couple of gladiators. However, Romeo holds his ground, takes out a number of Persian soldiers and combatants. Eva is at the stadium. She is impressed. The Persian soldiers kill all the gladiators. Romeo is the only person who is standing on his feet, continues to kill the Persian as if they were sheep and goats that the righteous make sacrifice to the goddesses, and stands victorious. Later, the queen invites him to her palace. She is a witch, one of the most arresting women ever, extremely alluring, and can read Romeo's heart. Eva shows him what Juliet is up to in magical water at her palace. Juliet, who has moved on, is having the time of her life with Seth who is reading poems. She is smiling. They then kiss intimately. Romeo feels betrayed. Eva then seduces Romeo easily. They have a passionate sex. Romeo might have taken his frustration on Eva. She lights like the sun in pure orgasm. Her heart might have stopped a couple of times with sexual pleasure. Sure as the stars in the sky twinkle at night, she doesn't feel it beating but tricking between her legs. After sex, Eva tells him they are battling the Muslim and wants him to lead the Persian army and he can then go home free. She won't hold him against his will. Nobody has ever made love to her like that. Plus he will be paid in gold. Romeo doesn't care anymore, leads the Persian versus the Muslim, Arabs. Romeo takes out hundreds of Muslims single-handedly. Yet Muslims, led by Ali, have saved the best for last. They hit them strong, kill a lot of Persian warriors. However, Romeo just won't quit, continues to eradicate the Muslim troopers as if they just came from fasting, and his brave showing inspires the few Persian fighters who are combating to their last breaths. They continue to battle like there is no tomorrow. Yet General Kader of Persia, Eva's lover, who was supposed to bring his soldiers and help the Persians, double-crosses them. The Muslims kill all of them. Romeo is the only person who is alive. He is taken to Medina as a prisoner. Yet Ali tells Romeo he is not a prisoner of war but a conqueror. A man who doesn't know peace but conflict, invisible fire that burn in the desert without a sense of purpose but prophecy of hidden order through chaos and asks him to join Muslims. The truth is Romeo is not a fighter but a lover. Yet Juliet's eyes are burning his soul to the core of his essence. How can love be so cruel? He still loves her more than the life placed in his soul, and cannot wait to see her eyes and kisses her sweet lips. Nonetheless, Romeo joins the Muslims in their quest to rule the world. They conquer a lot of lands. Romeo helps the Muslim territory become one of the largest empires in history. Later, Romeo meets Fatima, Ali's sister. She is considered to be one of the most beautiful girls in the world. A lot of Madist poets have written sonnets and fairy tales about her beauty. Some of them are beheaded and skinned alive for blasphemy, claiming she is the wife of Allah. He created her with pure dust from the moon and the light from the brightest star in heaven, and instead of the breath of life, he kissed her lips with a little bit tongue, before French kiss were expression of love with lust, and sowed a soul in her heart. Fatima is married to Prince Abdul. She is indeed by no means innocent, knows what kind of affect she has on men. The first time Romeo saw her, his soul dropped in his belly, felt the pain on his rib bones and electricity in his spleen, and can't help but hold his side, right down by his cardio muscle, for unknown reason as if he was kicked in the kidney. She is spellbinding. Meanwhile, Fatima was attracted to him at sight. Yet it's deeper than she thought. His eyes tell thousands of love stories. They have an affair, make loves a couple of times, got caught and sentenced to death. However, Ali, Fatima's brother, whom Romeo saved his life many times, breaks the prison and helps Romeo escape, returning favor, yet leaves Fatima's behind prison, tells Romeo she committed adultery and must be punished according to Quran. They are going to stone Fatima. But Romeo wouldn't allow them to touch her, marches to prison alone, kills the guards, frees Fatima and they escape together. Romeo and Fatima come to Damascus. In Damascus, Romeo and Fatima lay low for a while. Yet, Romeo manages to get a job at the University of Damascus as an English teacher. Even though he is a professor, the girls mistake him with a student. He is a gifted poet, writes some of the most beautiful romantic sonnets that rival even William Shakespeare, his creator. All the girls and female professor want to sleep with him. Yet he ends up falling in love with a girl named Jasmine, one of his students. They make love in the park. She is the daughter of Jamal, the sovereign of Damascus, and was about to marry the prince of Syrian. Romeo is fired from the work even though it was rumor. A female student, who has a crush on Romeo, saw them and spread the gossip. It brings shame on Jasmine. Fatima doesn't want to speak to Romeo. He just picks up his stuffs, travels north and comes to St. Petersburg, Russia. The truth is he is running away from Juliet who wouldn't give him peace, still in his heart as beautiful as ever. He sees her in his undying dreams, day and night. Even when he tried to forget her, she is printed in his memories in black and white. And when he closes his eyes, she appears in color and can't tell the difference between actual entity from illusion, she feels real. In St. Petersburg, Romeo sees a girl named Sophia, one of the most beautiful girls ever to set foot on this earth. She is Princess of Russia. It's love at first sight. She gives him a beautiful smile as her chariot passes by. Romeo gets a job at a bookstore right away. Russia is modernized. It's a total different atmosphere. Sophia comes to the bookstore to see him. The bookstore is owned by Sophia's cousin, Boris. She invites him to the palace. There is a party in progress. One thing leads to another. They dance, kiss, and make love. I might have to keep it short for the time being. Basically, Romeo travels around the world experiencing various cultures. India, Vietnam, Africa, China, Japan, and others, and taking parts in important history like Forrest Gump, and sleeping with the most beautiful girls in the world. It is set in a parallel universe. The history is not accurate. Romeo finally comes to Mexico with the Spanish to fight Chichimeca peoples in Chichimeca War after he fell in love with the general wife Maria, then falls in love with a beautiful native Indian named Lila, changes side and fight the Spanish and leads Chichimeca people to a couple of victories. However, Chichimeca officials tells him he's not one of them. Lila is the daughter of the chief. He won't allow her to marry Romeo. They ask him to leave despite the fact he has a gun wound in the side of his abdomen. Romeo doesn't feel like returning back to the Spanish, just travels north and finds himself deep in Chihuahuan desert wounded and lost without food and water, and can't help but fall on sands unconscious. It is a different dimension. All of a sudden, it's future. Rita, played by Emma Stone, an extreme sport freak, who happens to be riding motorcycle in the desert of Chihuahuan, sees him, approaches him and gives him energy drink, Red Bull. That brings him back to life. She calls her friend Roger with her cell phone. They take him to hospital in Mexico. Romeo recovers from his injury and sees Rita and Roger. Rita likes him, thinks he is handsome and asks him what his name is. He says Romeo. She tells him he might have to come to the USA with her and get the best medical treatment. Roger asks him where he is from. Romeo tells them he is from Montague. Rita says it's like Romeo and Juliet, Romeo of Montague. He looks at her a little bit confused. They think it's a joke. Regardless, Rita asks him if he has a passport or some sort of ID. He says he doesn't have anything. The last thing that he remembers is fighting the Spanish in the War of Chichimeca and got wounded. Roger tells Romeo not to worry about it, you can take my passport. I know the USA counselor in Mexico, will just tell him I lost my passport. He will issue me a temporary visa. Rita thinks it is a kind of him. Romeo is still confused, doesn't really know what's going on and just plays along. Luckily, the bullet entered the side of his stomach and damaged nothing, just flesh wound. He can live with it. Romeo comes to Los Angeles. The doctors look at his X-ray at UCLA Ronald Reagan Hospital, retrieve the bullet from the side of his abdomen and clear him. He is staying at Rita's house. Rita works at a casting agency that her Aunt Sarah runs. She is an aspiring writer, yet has to go through all kinds of photos and videos to help her aunt find the right stars. Hollywood has always counted on Sarah, who used to work for a major casting agency called Star Search but left the agency and starts her own casting company called Powerhouse. Rita is in her payroll and one of her best employee. Sarah can always count on her. Now, Rita has a crush on Romeo, thinks he is pretending to be Romeo as a joke, and she doesn't care, thinks he is cute. They begin to date. She shows him a couple of things here and there, watch movie, go to romantic restaurants and have American foods, visit a couple of interesting places. He is extremely romantic, the way he speaks and the way he treats women, his mannerism is out of this world, like the folks in the 1500s, has a lot of respect for the feminine souls. Even at the house, he gets up from her chair when she goes to the kitchen to grab a soda from the refrigerator, or at the restaurant when she goes to ladies' room to put lipstick. She asks herself if he is method acting or could he be the real Romeo. Brushes off the last thought from her mind. Meanwhile, Romeo has to adjust the future. It's not like before, sleeping with various beautiful girls and princesses around the world. There is a major change. It's the future. Imagine one day you walk up in the morning. All of a sudden, you are in the year 2500. It's an example. You see cars flying in the air. Teleportation machines are everywhere. You click a couple of buttons. You are in Rome, then Amsterdam, Paris, and Tokyo before the sunset. Maybe we will get used to it. Things are different now. We are ready for anything. I don't know what period of time Romeo and Juliet took place. Maybe in the medieval. This is different, set in a parallel universe like I mentioned earlier, doesn't really have to be historically correct. That's beside the point. Back then they thought the earth is the center of the universe. They were just waiting for the arrival of a savior in the kingdom of God or something to turn everything upside down and bring apocalypse and the judgment day, asking forgiveness and praying for eternal salvation of their souls. No doubt Shakespeare is ahead of his time but didn't know there were countless stars, hundreds of billions of galaxies and infinite hidden universes but faith itself. Anyway, I don't know anything about spirituality. There is a mystic, some kind of Holy Spirit, divine providence, or perhaps cosmic life force that makes anything possible, including the existence of life, the stars in the skies and the known universe itself. Regardless, Romeo catches up quickly, at least, pretends he has seen it all, doesn't want to look awkward, even learns how to drive car. Rita has taught him, also shows him how to ride a motorcycle. They ride together in the streets of Los Angeles flying like wind as if they had a death wish. However, Rita only takes her motorcycle when she feels a little bit adventurous. When she is in love, she likes to drive her BMW convertible while listening to Love Song by Sarah Bareilles, blasting it with full volume, and singing till her heart skips beats. Yet, Rita puts the volume moderate, doesn't want Romeo to think she is weird, or maybe a freak at the core of her heart. Romeo is sitting in the passenger seat. However, that doesn't stop her from singing with Sarah Bareilles. Romeo is taken by her sense of vibrant spirit. That night, Rita and Romeo have sushi, comes to Blue's house and dance slow. They take a walk in the beach, stand lips to lips. Romeo recite a poem. Shall I kiss thy lips, then deplete the blood from thy upper spellbinding lip? Like a vampire, who hunts in the night, and hang upside down on a cottage as if I were a bat, and show thee the chart of my beating heart? Or feast on thy lower sumptuous lips like a saint, who prays only on roses in the city of light, and scratch thy heart as if I were a domestic cat? Or allow me to come terms with my desire without fear, and let me kiss thy lips French, standing at the ocean of my heart, in the magical pier, till I rupture and make mincemeat of my soul, as if I were both a cheetah and a wounded deer. If thy lips are not made for kissing, roses are not created to blossom in the rain, and make us fall in love till we feel gorgeous pain, but to wither in vain and poison our souls, like the ivy in Ireland and bad tomato in Spain. Nothing in the universe is holy, fervent and keen. Life is apathetic, lethargic, and mean. I'm created neither to fall in love with the most beautiful girl I have ever seen, nor kiss thy lips till I forget who I am and where I've been, but to contempt, hate and die with a sin. If thy lips are not made for kissing, the angels in heaven are neither created to deliver me from evil, nor guide me to the right path. They will never give my soul everlasting salvation that I crave, and immortality that comes from love and dignity, but to trick me into wickedness and iniquity, and watch me burn in hell for eternity. If thy lips are not made for kissing, no flowers shall smell like perfume, no bride shall be kissed by a groom. The days might as well end with fume. Each night shall be doom. My ribs shall break into a million pieces, as if they were made of glass. I may never hold thee next to my heart and dance. My lips shall turn into thorns and frighten everything that invites wonder and romance. I may never recite poems or talk about France, even kiss French, or anything that put me in a trance, but remove my tongue and bury it in Mars. Yet, if thy lips are made for kissing, let me kiss thee till I complete whatever it's in the list, and give thee everything that thou insist. Make love till we forget we exist. Get closer, darling. Come near, and kiss me as if thee were a femme fatale, who loves to stab a martyr's heart with a spear, and a mademoiselle who wanted to fall in love with a messiah who liked to make it clear. Then drain the air out of my lungs, kill me for once, and for all, consume my essence without a smear. Yet a drop of tear in my belly and quenches my soul, till I resurrected, and take out the fire, and everything that's sear. They almost kiss yet nothing happens, despite the fact their lips touch, self-conscious in her part. All she knows he could be a mental case, wishes he is a lunatic, but that's far from the truth, doesn't want anyone to break her sensitive heart, yet couldn't sleep, can see his eyes as if he were inside her irises and still taste the touch of his lips on the layer of her lips. She wants to touch herself and have a quiet orgasm, instead, gets up in the middle of the night, comes to Romeo's room without a single drop of cloth. To put it nicely, they kiss and make love. However, Romeo lets her have it, hit it deliciously till she couldn't feel the beat of her heart. Rita reaches multiple orgasms, each penetration is like a fire to her soul, and wants it more and more, and she doesn't hold back, gets on top and rides Romeo enchantingly as if her life depended on it. They have one of the best sex of their lives. Later, Sarah asks her to find an actor and actress for the remake of modern-day Romeo and Juliet. It's musical. She looks hundreds of video and photos day and night. There are all kinds of attractive actors and actresses. They audition and all. But she couldn't find either Romeo or Juliet. Meanwhile, Rita continues to spend a lot of times with Romeo, watching movies, going to a baseball game at the Dodgers Stadium, clubbing and making love here and there. They have some of the best sex in cinema. Rita just can't get enough of Romeo. Then one day they come to a party that is hosted by her friend Marta at her Beverly Hills mansion. Marta knows that Rita has been looking for Juliet to fill the female lead role. She introduces her to a girl who looks exactly like Juliet. To our surprise and Rita fascination, her name is Juliet. She is a model and actress played by India Isley. Juliet introduces Rita to her boyfriend. He looks exactly like Seth. To our surprise, his name is Seth. Could they be the reincarnation of Juliet and Seth? Rita introduces them to Romeo. It's love at first sight. Romeo finds his heart bleeding on her lips, wants to kiss her from here to eternity despite the fact she has left him with a broken heart, sees the stars in her eyes, luring him and thinks she is Juliet for seconds. But she is wearing a beautiful red Valentino gown and looks like an angel from a crimson universe, if not from the cerise part of heaven where passion is fashioned exquisitely. Juliet can't take her eyes off him either, thinks he is handsome. Meanwhile, Juliet agrees to meet Rita and audition for the part. That night, Romeo and Juliet have few words. What light through yonder on the heavenly sky sets? It is the west, and Juliet is the twilight, love at its best, something like that. In the other hand, she doesn't know who he is, thinks she is in love with a good-looking man but cannot trust her heart. It's sensitive. She easily responds to anything that is inviting to the vision. Besides, Juliet is dating Seth and just doesn't want to stir up trouble. Later, Juliet auditions for the part and gets the role. However, the part for Romeo is still open. It's left for Rita to feel it. Sarah has put her in charge of the casting. She has always felt in her heart Romeo is her leading man, but she doubts if he is as good as he appears to be regardless of his method acting or not. She doesn't know if he is interested in playing Romeo either. He hangs out at her house, acts confused once in a while, yet make love to her till her heart drops in her belly and hides behind her cervix, and writes plays and sonnets day and night. She has read some of his writing. She's amazed as if they were written by William Shakespeare. Most of them are about Juliet and the adventure he encounters throughout the world. Rita asks him if he is interested in playing Romeo. He looks at the script. It is musical. He thought it's a joke. He tells her she can use his play. She reads it, the complete manuscript, lost soul, and taken by it. She shows it to her publisher friend, Nicole. They publish it right away. It is the #1 book and brought Romeo nationwide fame. Hollywood turns it to screenplay, delays the production of the Romeo and Juliet, the musical, and decide to film the adventure of Romeo based on the novel Lost Soul by Romeo. Yet even though he is in love with Juliet, Romeo has developed a feeling toward Rita, has been thriving on the physical aspect of love, making love to her is like out-of-body experience. He might be in love with her. Meanwhile, Rita finds out Romeo has been telling the truth all this time. The bullet that they retrieve from Romeo's side at the University of Los Angeles, California is dated late 15th. They begin to film. The chemistry between Romeo and Juliet make the angels in heaven envious. Yet Seth comes to the picture and sweeps Juliet away. Unlike the story, Romeo gets back with Juliet and wins her heart back after he has traveled around the world and visited almost all of the continents, including Antarctica. In the real life, he is in the future. He is lost. Rita is the only person who understands him. Juliet continues to date Seth. Romeo does not want to come between them. He just plays his part professionally. But Hollywood is not a place to be conservative. There is always trouble in paradise. Juliet comes to Romeo's trailer and seduces him, a different creature, like Salome, the daughter of Herod the Great, except she doesn't want the head of Saint John the Baptist on a plate for her mother. She wants Jesus Christ's heart crucified on the cross for herself, removes her cloth and stands nude in front of Romeo. He kisses her lips, caresses her neck, and they make love in the Star Wagon. Meanwhile, Rita comes to the trailer and sees Romeo and Juliet having sex. She knows it was coming, not too upset but felt a little bit betrayed. Rita is in love with him. Yet she likes the feeling of sting, rather a pinch in her inner thigh, as if she were watching a sad movie that mysteriously ends with they live happily ever after. But it was all in her imagination. She is in a lot of pain, gets in her motorcycle and ride in the streets of Los Angeles without helmet, thinking about some of the things she did with Romeo. After sex, Juliet tells Romeo she will break his heart if she stays with him. She wants it all. Romeo understands what's in her mind and lets her go. Later, Juliet returns to Seth. It's occupational hazard. The affair is in the tabloids. Juliet tells Seth she just wanted to get lost in the character and feel it in the core of her heart. She knows everybody do it behind the scene. Some get caught. Other don't. It's not a big deal. Seth is artist, forgives her as if nothing happened. Besides, she seduces him with dance, and they end up making love. In the other hand, Romeo apologizes to Rita. She accepts him back. There is a beautiful drama. It's kept short. We will go straight to the point. Romeo goes down with his one knee and asks Rita to marry him. She accepts. They get married, a small beautiful wedding next to Pacific Ocean. They kiss intimately. The end. MTV gets hundreds of letters from Romeo and Juliet fans. Thousands protests on the street despite the fact the movie getting critical acclaim. The fans just don't like the fact Juliet has an affair with Seth. Romeo sleeps with some of the most beautiful women in the world. They think MTV ruined the fairy tale. In the meantime, Lewis signs Britney Spears to stars in MTV movie titled Toxic. It's miniseries. She plays a private undercover agent named Bridget. She is like Natalie in Charlie's Angels without the angels. She doesn't take order from a speaker. Instead she takes order direct from Sammy, played by Samuel Jackson. She is assigned to find out a heist. A man named Ivan, who works for the government, hires the agency that she works for to find people who are responsible for the heist of Quantum program. It's used to run a new satellite that records everything on Earth as well as maps the universe. Bridget finds out it's a man named Vincent who stole the program. Vincent is planning to recode it, so it will launch invisible antimatter radiation to the target area without anybody's knowledge and kill millions in a second, and sell it to China or the highest bidders. Bridget, disguised as all kinds of interesting characters, finds out to whom Vincent is selling the program and steals it. She gives the disc to Yvonne. He pays them millions. She then finds out Yvonne is behind everything. He was just using Bridget to heist the program from Vincent, who is the only person that can recode the program to be used as a weapon. Now Yvonne is about to end the world if the USA doesn't pay him $42 billion. But Bridget stops him at the last second. The show is a hit. In the meantime, Louis does a couple of seductive music videos to various artists, including to Shakira, Adele, Katy Perry, Ariana Grande, Lady Gaga, Nicki Minaj and others. MTV airs The Bodyguard starring Rihanna. It's a little bit different from the original. Rihanna plays a pop star named Rachel, who is at the top of her game, and has it all: fame, fortune, and love. Basically, she plays almost herself, comes to Paris, appears in a famous talk show and sing at a fashion event here and there, has a couple of bodyguards who keep eyes on her, calls her boyfriend, Paul, who is a pop star in USA, tells him she missed him and all, and can't help but watch her own bio on MTV. Part 37. Rachel is proud of what she has accomplished so far, yet feels there is something missing in her life, doesn't really know what it's. Later, Rachel tells her bodyguard to leave her alone for a while, takes a taxi and comes to the Cathedral of Notre Dame alone for soul searching, sees a man named Isaiah sitting at the 4th row. It's love at first sight. She takes a deep breath and goes to the confession box to collect her thoughts. Father Johann asks if she has confession to make. She tells him she has nothing to confess, just came to look around. He knows who she is, saw her when she walked into the church, opens the window and asks her what is bothering her. She tells him she thought she is in love but not sure anymore, feels empty sometimes, and just saw the love of her life. In the meantime, an assassin opens the confession box, shoots and kills Father Johann. The killer points his gun at her to shoot her. Out of nowhere comes Isaiah and shoots him in the head. She is in shock. Isaiah tells Rachel they have to leave as soon as possible, takes her hand and begins to walk toward the exit. 4 goons are standing at the exit, pretending to be regular people. Isaiah shoots all of them at the speed of light, figuratively speaking. But it's fast. They exit the church, get in his Mercedes convertible and drive away. She asks him who he is. He tells her he is nobody, drops her at her hotel and drives away. She has few bloods on her face and cloth, removes her dress, nude, takes shower and watches news. They are talking about the shooting. In the meantime, we find out Father Johann was a rat. He was hiding in Paris under CIA witness protection program, snitched on Billy, who is selling pure uranium used to make nuclear weapon to China. Billy is the head of Roberto's crime family. It's one of the most notorious mafias in Italy. He owns a major fashion label called Kill Bill, after the film starring Uma Thurman. Someone within CIA leaked information, sold him information regarding to Johann's whereabouts. Billy sent his brother Peter to take him out quietly but didn't expect to turn out bad, and now wants to know who killed his brother. Meanwhile, Paris police find a video taken by a paparazzi who was following Rachel secretly. The video doesn't show a lot of thing, only Rachel entering the church, few minutes before the killing. The police don't have anything but bring Rachel for questioning. She tells them she doesn't know anything. Is she protecting the killer? They know she is hiding something, threaten to keep her in Paris indefinitely if she doesn't talk, saying it's for her own protection. Billy will kill her if he finds out she is involved in the killing of his brother. She tells them she didn't see anything, left the church before the shooting. They are just wasting her time, and if they are going to keep her in Paris, she might as well apply for French citizenship and become Parisian, loves the Louvre Museum. That is a joke in her part. The truth is she can't wait to get back to Los Angeles and do what she does best, records songs and makes beautiful music videos. Her lawyer talks to a couple of important people in the system and put the French police in the hot seat. They are forced to clear her name. But Rachel decides to hang around for few more days, sits in a bathtub, just dreaming about Isaiah the whole day without leaving her hotel while touching herself and listening to music and writing songs. Later, Rachel agrees to hire few more bodyguards. She interviews a couple of bodyguards. Some of them used to be secret services and commandos who have specialized in particular set of skills and had protected important people, key government employees, actors, musicians, and notorious men, including drug dealers and corrupted politicians. But she thinks none of them can protect her, doesn't really trust them with her life. Later, at a fashion party that is hosted by a famous Italian fashion design named Marco in Paris, Rachel is introduced to Isaiah by a girl named Jessica as her date. She is surprised to see him. Minutes later, Rachel finds Isaiah alone and asks him what he is doing here. Isaiah tells her he used to be a bodyguard of Jessica's father, then fell in love with her and ran away with her instead of protecting her father. They had fun till it lasted. Now, they are just friends, no string attached. Rachel finds the story romantic but a little bit cold. She asks him what he thinks about fashion. Isaiah says he doesn't know anything about fashion a lot but doesn't have to be a fashionist to appreciate a woman's essence. Anytime he sees a woman dress in Valentino gown or naked dress that she is wearing, the Adam Selman Swarovski crystal dress, same as CFDA fashion award she worn, he doesn't have to be a rocket scientist to see how fashion plays major role in shaping culture and human sexuality. She smiles in beauty, and asks him what he was doing in the church that day. He tells her he just happened to be seeking for a peace of mind, then sensed her life was in danger and acted instinctively. She is attracted to him. He likes her as well, asks her if she wants to take a walk in the park. Rachel tells him the paparazzi might follow them and would make scandal out of it. She's going out with Paul. He tells her he knows a couple of escape routes, has specialized in those kinds of things. They leave the party unseen, get in his convertible and comes to a beautiful blues house. There is a live band. Isaiah and Rachel sit and have red wine while listening to smooth jazz. They talk about romance. She tells him she is not really serious about Paul, gets lonely sometimes and needed someone to talk to. It didn't matter whether it's on the phone or face to face. It has helped her deal with stress once in a while but would have been lost without music. Rachel can't take her eyes off Isaiah who is looking at her soul straight through her irises. They gaze at each other's eyes for long seconds as if they were having a starring competition. She then licks her lips and softly bites her lower lip in seduction without taking her eyes off him. He blinks his eyes. She smiles in beauty as if she won a Grammy. They play Truth or Dare. He dares her sing. She gets up on the stage and sings All the Man That I Need by Whitney Houston. Everybody stops what they are doing and looks at her in awe. Her heart has left the sky, she gets lost deep in her soul singing like an angel. They give her a round of applause. Isaiah and Rachel take a walk in a bridge, across the Seine, conversing. They then stand lips to lips, kiss French and make love at his apartment. They sit in the bathtub. She asks him to be her bodyguard. He agrees to help her. They kiss and make love all night. Isaiah and Rachel fly to Los Angeles. She introduces him to her friends, family, and managers as her bodyguard. They come to her house in Malibu. He sets up all kinds of surveillance and security cameras throughout the house as Rachel dances exotic with Birthday Sex by Jeremiah while eating a slice of birthday cake that has a candle. She is only wearing Victoria's Secret underwear. Her breasts are hanging on her chest flawlessly. Rachel then feeds him a cake and asks him to dance. He acts a little bit shy. She dances erotic around him grinding her butt on his groin and all, then puts her arms around him. They kiss French. He picks her up, puts her on a table, slowly removes her underwear. They kiss intimately. On the soundtrack, Poison by Belle Biv DeVoe plays. Isaiah removes all his clothes, comes between her legs naked, caresses her neck, grabs her buttocks and enters her as they begin to make love. The background changes, and we find Isaiah and Rachel at the bedroom, making love. They do it with various sexual position, series cuts. We stay with them. In montage, Rachel does a provocative music video. Isaiah keeps eyes on her. She dances at a club. Isaiah watches her closely. He drives her home and escorts her to the house. When he is about to leave, she pulls his arm and asks him to come inside. He enters and closes the door. They kiss intimately and make love on the floor at the living room. Cut to, bedroom, Isaiah and Rachel continue to make love with series cuts. In the other end of the world, Billy is contacted by a man named Chad who works for CIA. He shows him photos of Isaiah and Rachel taken by CIA surveillance cameras in Paris right after the killing of Peter. But the image of Isaiah is not clear. It seemed he knew where the camera is located. Nonetheless, Billy tells his right-hand man Vincent to go to LA and have few words with Rachel. Vincent flies to LA and contacts Uncle Luke to lend him a couple of muscles. Luke lends him 6 of his best goons. Rachel sings and dances at the set of her latest music video. It's a 30-minute video. She can't go home and relax, might have to hang around for a while shooting 24/7. They have set up a star wagon for her. Rachel doesn't care. Isaiah is with her. She can't wait to be with him, finishes her scenes, walks up to him, takes his arm, and they come to her trailer, enter, kiss intimately and remove each other clothes. They kiss more passionately and make love in her trailer. It's a special star wagon, looks like a living room. After sex, they sit in the bathtub that is placed in the middle of the trailer surrounded by candles and rose petals. They talk between soft kisses. Meanwhile, Vincent and his goons come to the set and trash everything. Isaiah quickly puts on his cloths and grabs his gun as Vincent and his goons approach the trailer. Isaiah hides at the kitchen and then disappears before our eyes. Vincent kicks the door, walks in, shows her the pictures and asks her to tell her who the man is. Rachel says she doesn't know who he is. Meanwhile, LAPD and SWAT team led by Lieutenant Jack arrive at the set. They tell the bad guys to surrender. Instead the bad guys fire at the law enforcement agents like True Romance as if they were going to get paid double if they kill cops. LAPD and SWAT team shoot and kill all of them. Vincent points his gun at Rachel, who is nude and wet, tells the cops he will shoot her. SWAT snipers position themselves to take him out. They are waiting order from Jack. In the meantime, Isaiah gets behind his sniper rifle, has Vincent in target, pulls the trigger and shoots him in the head. His blood splatter on Rachel's face. Jack doesn't know who took the shot. He thinks one of the SWAT fire without his permission. They quickly cover Rachel with blanket as she stands confused. Isaiah puts his gun away and comes to Rachel to comfort her as if he has nothing to do with the killing. She cuddles him instinctively. Paparazzi take their pictures. The next day, it's the talk of the nation. They are on the covers of all kinds of tabloids and magazines. Some serious magazine and newspapers and entertainment and major news talk about the shooting and all. However, tabloids are not interested in the shooting. They are interested in the man she hugged. The blanket that they covered her with fell down on the ground. Rachel didn't care less. She just cuddled Isaiah with her naked body. He held her next to his heart. They look like lovers till a personal assistant quickly covered Rachel. The paparazzi got the shot they need. It's on the covers of major tabloids. Later, they ask her about the shooting. She says it is part of life. She loves music. If she must die, is there a better way to go out doing something she loves? She is an artist, will continue to make music. If she stops, she will die. They ask her about Isaiah if they are dating. Rachel denies it, says he is her bodyguard, just got too emotional and hugged him, that's all, didn't know the blanket fell off. However, some speculates she removed the blanket in purpose. They rewind it a couple of times and analyze it as if it were a movie. How she hugged him and all. She almost kissed him. Her lips caressed his lips but Isaiah held her closer in order to avoid scandal. They say he seems more control. But she is aware of her action better than him. She knew she would be watched by billions. She wanted to let the world know she has found love with a little bit scandal here and there. They could be right in slow motion. At least, they convince some of us. Later, Rachel and Paul sit at a coffee shop. She tells him she is in love with Isaiah. There is no secret. She thought he should know. She is not dumping him or anything but Isaiah makes her feel she is the only girl in the world. In the other hand, at LAPD headquarters, Jack has few words with Captain Carter. He says he questions all the snipers. They said they didn't take the shot. Captain Carter says they might be lying. Jack say he doubt it, believes them, puts the photo of Isaiah in front of the captain, tells him he uses to be Navy SEAL sniper but there is no record of him, doesn't really exist. In Italy, Billy is pissed. He hires a hitman named Jason to kill Rachel. In the meantime, Rachel hired a private detective named Richard to check on Isaiah's background. Richard finds out Isaiah works for CIA. He is an employee of the US government. Isaiah and Rachel take a walk in the beach. She asks him to tell her the truth, wants to know what he was doing in that church. He admits he was supposed to protect Johan but got distracted by her, closes his eyes for a while dreaming about her eyes. He was in heaven for a while. He then heard a gunshot and responded as fast as he could. She asks him if he still works for CIA. Isaiah has volunteered to protect her free of charge. Rachel says she's paying him. He gives her back the checks that she gave him. Maybe he should just keep his eyes on her and make sure no one touches her, with no strings attached. They stand lips to lips in the sunset. They exchange soft kisses between conversation. She tells him maybe they should make love and forget about it. They kiss French. He carries her to the house while joining lips to lips in intimate kisses. On the soundtrack, one of Rachel's songs play. They make love surrounded by candles. After sex, they sit in the bathtub place in the middle of the living room. She asks him to tell her everything. Isaiah says Johan used to work for Billy and was also CIA informant. He testified against Billy on charge of stealing uranium used in nuclear warheads from Russia and selling the uranium to China in black market. Then the charge dropped due to corruption. Yet, CIA puts Johan in a witness protection program. Later, someone within CIA sold the information to Billy. CIA assigned Isaiah to protect Johan. The rest is what he told her. He got distracted by her and fell to do his job. Rachel tells him that means it's her fault. Isaiah says no, it's not her fault. They kiss and make love all night. Next, we see montage. Rachel finishes the music video that she's been filming and celebrate with Isaiah at a romantic restaurant. They drive to his lake house, dance slow, kiss and make love in the bedroom surrounded by candles. In the morning, Isaiah makes breakfast, pancakes, scrambled eggs and cranberry juice, and brings it to the bedroom. They have breakfast in bed. Yet they kiss intimately and make love. The foods crash on the floor, cranberry juice spills on the bed. They ignore it and continue to make love as if their bodies and spirits were created out of desire, lust, sensuality, and excitement. Isaiah and Rachel visit the Grammy Museum. Rachel sings a song just having fun. Isaiah watches her in wonder. She then takes his hand and dances with him. He acts a little bit shy. They are people watching them but he doesn't want to let her down. She puts her arms around him and kisses him even though they are paparazzi nearby. They take her pictures. Rachel doesn't care. She is in love. Later, Rachel performs live at the MTV Music Award. Isaiah keeps eyes on her, then sees a man named Jason, ex-Navy SEAL sniper, knows the man very well, asks him what he is doing there. Jason tells him he is working for an actress named Natalie. Isaiah has a bad feeling but let it go for now. The same night, Isaiah and Rachel come to a theater. It's a private screening of Notebook starring Rachel McAdam and Ryan Gosling. Isaiah and Rachel sit on a sofa and watch the movie. They then kiss intimately and make love in the theater. Later, Rachel stars as Nadia in Lost Memories. It's a story about a girl named Nadia who got in a car accident and lost the ability to create new memories. When she wakes up in the morning, she forgets everything. In the meantime, Charles played by Ryan Gosling tries to remind Nadia capturing every moment they spend together with videos and photographs. Rachel and Ryan do a couple of love scenes here and there. Isaiah got a little bit jealous but continues to make sure nothing happens to her. She also does a beautiful music video for the movie. In the music video, Ryan takes all kinds of beautiful pictures of Rachel and records videos of her. Later, she got nominated for 2 Oscars for Best Actress and the Best Song in Film. Rachel arrives at Oscar wearing a beautiful red naked gown. Isaiah is her date. He sees Jason with a new client named Justin. He contacts Rachel's other bodyguards and tells them to keep their eyes on Jason. It's a little bit like The Bodyguard. But her other bodyguards are kept in the backgrounds throughout the movie. Rachel is about to perform live. Isaiah advises her not to perform. She kisses him and tells him it's the biggest night of her life, has to perform, get on the stage and sings her heart out, gives one of the best performances of her life and returns to her seat. Isaiah continues to make sure she is safe. He looks at Jason, who is standing across the building with his cell phone. He makes a gun sign with his hand and fires at Isaiah as a joke. In the meantime, there are lights behind Jason. He switches them on with his cell phone. Isaiah covers his eyes to protect his vision, then looks at the direction where Jason was standing. Jason is gone. They announce the nominees, open the envelope. Rachel wins the Best Actress. She gets up, comes to the stage and accepts the award. She is speechless. It's not out of excitement. It's not out of fear. She is just lost and confused. There are light in front of her, blinding her sight. She cannot see anything, looks around for Isaiah. She then sees Jason, who is standing with his cell phone. He looks at her eyes. Isaiah sees him. The lights are machine guns. Jason clicks a button on his cell phones and activate the machine guns on the lights. Isaiah runs down the stage, dives in the air, grabs Rachel and hits the floor. He covers her from rain of bullets. He is shot a couple of times. Yet he makes sure nothing happened to Rachel. He uses his body to shield her. The firing then stops. Rachel is covered with Isaiah's blood. Jason takes out his gun and sets to fire at Rachel. Isaiah collects his strength and shoots Jason between his eyes. He then falls on Rachel's arms soaked in blood. Rachel begs him not to die. The paramedics rush him to hospital. The doctors perform surgery on him and remove the bullets from his body. Luckily he was wearing bulletproof vest. It saved his life. Yet there are still bullets in his anatomy that is not protected by the vest. The doctors remove them one by one. Rachel waits at waiting room crying. One of Rachel's songs play as we watch some of the things Isaiah and Rachel did in flashback. Rachel sleeps at the sofa alone. The doctors save Isaiah's life after 14 hours of surgery. Rachel comes to the surgery room to see him. He is sleeping unconscious. Her eyes are filled with tears. They fall down by her cheeks naturally as she blinks her eyes. She kisses his lips. Isaiah opens his eyes. She smiles in beauty and asks him how he is doing. He tells her he'll be fine, gives her his hand. She takes his hand and climbs on the bed. They kiss French. The end. Meanwhile, Rihanna falls in love with Lost Memories and wants to do a feature film based on the story. It's a little bit different. In The Bodyguard, Lost Memories is about a girl who lost her memory after a car accident and her boyfriend tries to preserve her memory by taking beautiful picture of hers and capturing every moment with video. He then shows her the next day, and they continue to have fun, beginning to end. It's a beautiful heartbreaking romantic movie like The Notebook. But in the film, it has few twists. It is mystery based on charade starring Audrey Hepburn and Cary Grant. Nadia lost her memory in a skiing accident in France. Charles is murdered halfway the film, after all the romance we saw in The Bodyguard. She then finds herself lost and confused with all kinds of tattoos on her body till she discovers videos and photographs that Charles took of her locked in the basement, including sex tapes that they made together. However, she is not aware of them. Nadia tries to put her past together in vain. She can't form new memories, then meets a charismatic man named Ian, 35. It's love at first sight. He sweeps her off her feet in one day. They end up making love. Every time Nadia meets him, she falls in love with him at sight. He charms her, seems to know a lot of things about her. Unlike Charles, who shows her videos to remind her how much he has loved her and things they did in the past, Ian tricks her into falling in love with him as if he were her soulmate like Phil Connors in the Groundhog Day. He is up to something. They make love here and there. Later, they sit in the bathtub, and Ian tells her he remembers things that he did when he was child. Like one time, he stole money from his mother's purse and bought a toy gun to play a cowboy versus Indians with his friends. If you did not have a gun, you had to play Red Indian, which means you have to use fake axes, bows, and arrows. It kind of sucked. But his mother found about it and asked him if he stole any money from her purse. He lied about it. She then asked him where he got the gun. Ian told his mother he found it at the school, in a parallel universe hidden from our sight, instead of telling her the truth. His mother thought it was the greatest lie she had ever heard and let it go. Ian then tells Nadia she is faking it, adds he and Charles stole a couple of millions. However, Charles double-crossed him, took the money and disappeared from the face of the earth. She knows something that she is not telling him. She doesn't know what he is talking about. Ian roughs her up a little bit to tell him where Charles hid the money, kind of intimidate her playfully. However, Nadia doesn't remember anything and forgives him the next day. She has all kinds of tattoos on her body drawn by Charles. Ian photographs the tattoos on her body and tries to put the pieces together. Meanwhile, Nadia is approached by a man named Dylan. He tells her Charles and 3 men stole $4 billion from a billionaire named Boris. Charles took the money and disappeared. Dylan is sent by the billionaire to recover the money safely. 3 guys are Alexander, Tony, and Maxim are going to come and kill her. They already killed her husband. He asks her if Charles told her about stolen money. Nadia tells him she doesn't remember anything. Maybe he does. But she can't form new memories. Dylan tells her not to trust Ian. He is working with the bad guys. He advises her to stay away from Ian. He might have even killed her husband. Nadia writes it down on her notebook. But Ian comes in the middle of the night and tears it down. In the meantime, Ian finds out where the money is kept after he deciphered the tattoo. It's in Swiss bank. He needs the password. Why can't she remember anything? Ian tells Nadia that her life in danger. He wants to know if Charles tells her anything. She doesn't remember a thing. However, She keeps having the same dream, Charles telling her, Matt and I fly around the world. There is a tattoo on of world and Mad her inner thigh. Ian has already photographed it. He looks at the photo. Ian knows that is the password. He tries to decipher it while making love to Nadia. He writes world and Mad on a piece of paper. He looks at her tattoos on her naked body. He sees the tattoo of Aphrodite on her right arm. He writes down woman. He sees an eagle holding ribbon written on beautiful dream on her left arm. Nadia stands in front of the mirror and applies lipstick on her lips. Ian notices the wings tattoo on her back, looks at the tattoo of the eagle through the mirror and gets it right away. The D is B and the L is I. It's Bird Woman. Boris didn't send Dylan to recover the money. He is one of the thieves who killed Charles. Boris sent Ian to recover the money. Ian then admits he is not really Ian. His name is Nick, the mastermind behind the robbery, came up with the plan and all. However, Nick promised Boris he would return the money. Nick and Nadia come to Swiss Bank. It is under Nadia's name. They provide ID and passport and withdraw all $4 billion in the chaser check. Dylan, Alexander, Tony, and Maxim come to kill Nadia. Nick kills all of them after a wild shootout, and saves Nadia. They come to Boris' mansion. Nick tells her she should return the money to Boris herself, can't not do it, had dishonored Boris by stealing the money in the first place, will wait for her in the car. Nadia goes to the mansion. Boris's bodyguards tell her to wait for seconds. He is talking on the phone. They then let her into the main office. Nadia is surprised to find Nick there. Indeed, Nick is Boris, the head of Russian crime family, asks her to marry him. She smiles in puzzlement and accepts the proposal. They kiss intimately. The end. Meanwhile, a MTV airs Imagine starring Emma Stone. It's a mini-series about a young FBI agent named Marta played by Emma Stone hunts for a serial killer who kills women, strips their clothes, writes John Lennon lyrics on their skins and leaves each body on a blanket as if it were a work of art. 8 episodes, 2 hours per show. Victim 1 is a young actress turned politician named Wendy. She was running for the government of New York at the tender age of 29 but found nude on the wood. The killer stripped her cloth, wrote the lyrics Imagine by John Lennon, and placed her body on a blanket gracefully. Forensics collect evidence. Marta, a rookie FBI agent, comes driving her convertible, parks her car on the street, walks up to crime scenes, puts her gloves and examines the body, reads the lyrics, Imagine there's no heaven, it's easy if you try, no hell below us, above us only sky, imagine all the people, livin' for today, imagine there's no countries, it isn't hard to do, nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too, imagine all the people, live in life in peace, you may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one, I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will be as one. Imagine no possessions, I wonder if you can, no need for greed or hunger, a brotherhood of man, imagine all the people, sharing all the world you may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one, I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will live as one. Marta looks for a hidden meaning. Meanwhile John, NYPD, come to investigate the case. Marta was assigned by a special agent Jack, the head of FBI, to look at it due to the victim popularity. She was it girl like Lindsay Lohan and fell out of the spotlight but collected herself, cleaned up her act, got back on top and was in the middle of running for the governor. Too many people took her seriously. She was even on the cover of Time. Paparazzi had been following her. Her death was in the news before even the cops get there. Marta and John have few words. She tells him they are dealing with a serial killer. FBI might have to take over the case. Meanwhile, she is attracted to him, lost in her heart. John thinks she is 10. The murder didn't even register on his mind. He can't take his eyes off her either, finally snaps out of it, looks at the corpse. They agree to meet and discuss about the case. Marta questions Wendy's boyfriend, who is the last person who saw her alive. He says she got up in the morning 5 a.m., went to jogging but never returned. Meanwhile, Marta tries to decipher the lyrics, thinks it might lead to the next victim, knows the killer is a step ahead of them. Marta and John sit at a romantic restaurant and talk about the case. John thinks the killer just wants attention. But Marta believes the killer has motive, one of those serial killer who thinks he is God. They find out the killer kills women who committed adulteries and planning on killing 40 people. John Lennon was born October 9, 1940. He died December 8, 1980 at the age of 40. The killer murders 5 women per show. It's a hit for MTV. Emma Stone wins Emmy. Later, Beyoncé stars as Betty in Bad Emotion. It's an MTV film loosely based on Body Heat starring William Hurt and Kathleen Turner. It is set in Los Angeles. A lawyer named Nicholas starts an affair with a washed-up actress named Betty, who is married to a wealthy music producer named Richard. They keep it on the down low. However, Betty and Nicholas have some of best sex in cinema. Later, Nicholas runs into a girl named Vivian at Betty's house. She is a friend of Betty, looks a little bit like her as well. Vivian tries to seduce Nicholas. They both play it cool. Betty introduces him to Vivian. She is her lover. They have steamy threesome. Later, Betty lets Nicholas know what's up, wants to divorce Richard but needs money to start a production company. If she divorces him, she'd get nothing, signed a prenuptial agreement. Nicholas advises her jokingly to kill Richard. Betty seduces Nicholas into S&M sex. They have a wild erotic sex, have a major orgasm. Actually, she fucks the living hell out of him and lets him put it anywhere he pleases, then asks him to kill her husband. He agrees to do it, high with sexual pleasure. They plan the murder together. Nicholas comes to Betty and Richard's mansion in the middle of the night to kill him. Betty opens the door for him. Nicholas walks into the bedroom and tries to suffocate Richard with a pillow. Betty has already placed sleeping pills in his drink. He is motionless. Yet all of a sudden, Richard is awake, finds pillow on his face. What fuck is going on? Someone is trying to kill him. Richard pushes Nicholas off him. They begin to fight. Nicholas is not going to fight this motherfucker. He is big, would have him for dessert. Instead, he takes out his gun. But Richard knocks the gun out of Nicholas's hand and punches him on the face. Nicholas loses his balance and falls on the floor. Richard gets on top of him and puts his hands on Nicholas's neck, cutting his oxygen supply. Nicholas can't breathe. Betty grabs Nicholas's gun and shoots Richard in the head. Richard falls on Nicholas lifeless. Nicholas pushes him off. His cloth is covered with blood. Betty gives him Richard's shirt. They place Richard's body in his Bentley convertible and burn his corpse. They have sex on the hood of the car while his body is burning to ashes. It's one of sickest things we have ever seen in our lives. They continue to have sex while the car is on fire, then Craig open his skull with a hammer, take the bullet and push the car off the cliff to make it look like an accident. Later, Nicholas is approached by Richard's lawyer about a new will that Nicholas allegedly drew on behalf of Richard. It was witnessed by Vivian. However, the new will was written poorly. It is declared insignificant, which result in Betty inheriting the entire fortune. Betty later confesses to Nicholas that she forged the will. It doesn't matter. They have passionate sex at a motel. Then Nicholas is contacted by Detective Mia, who suspected Nicholas might be involved with Betty in her husband's death. Mia tells him the forensics put some of Richard's brain together and found a bullet hole. She also informs him Vivian is reported missing. Nicholas feels cornered. Mia then drops the big hammer. Someone had kept calling at his house on the night of the murder. The person, who called at his house, never received answer. Now, Nicholas knows it's a setup. Betty is going to blame him for the murder. He told Betty not to call at the house, but she double-crossed him. He already told the police he was at his house watching James Bond marathon. Nicola confronts Betty at gunpoint. She laughs at him sarcastically and walks toward the boathouse and disappears from his sight. Then the boathouse explodes to hell. Part 38. The forensics find a body identified as Betty through dental records. Later, Mia receives Nicola's blood-stained shirt, a bullet, and a gun in 3 separate plastic bags. Nicholas is arrested. They put him in prison. Nicholas tries to convince Mia that Betty is still alive, just feels it and thinks the woman he knew as Betty assumed the identity of Betty Jackson in order to marry Richard and take his money. The girl Nicholas had threesome with and knows as Vivian was murdered, and her body left in the boathouse. Mia thinks it makes no sense. Nicholas remembers Betty telling him she wants to live in Saint-Tropez, French Riviera. Mia flies to France to check it out, then finds Betty enjoying the view from her beautiful villa built near the sea. It seems Betty and Mia have known each other quite for a while. They kiss French and have hot lesbian sex. In flashback, we see the main motivation behind the killing. Betty sits at the swimming pool, drinking whiskey, looks at Richard who is talking on his cell phone. Richard is a drug dealer, distributes cocaine to Hollywood community while pretending to be a respectable producer. Yet, he has made close to $1 billion through cocaine trade, stashes the money in a safe at the basement. Only Betty knows about this. One day, she speeds up her BMW convertible in the street of Malibu. She is pulled by Mia, who happens to be driving a regular car, Lexus, off-duty. Betty collects her dress, not wearing underwear, and shows her vagina. Mia tells her to step out of the vehicle, brings her the hood, tells her to turn around and spread her legs. Mia then fingers Betty behind. Betty then lies on the hood of her car. Mia eats her out. Betty and Mia involve in steamy lesbian affair like Jennifer Tilly and Gina Gershon in Bound. They make love here and there. Later, sitting at the bathtub, Betty tells Mia about the money. They plan to kill Richard. Mia recommends her Nicholas, whom she arrested after she saw him running naked. We see the reason in flashback. Nicholas is having sex with a gorgeous supermodel named Sasha. Then out of nowhere comes her husband Vladimir with a gun, points the gun at Nicholas and tells him to leave the house without a single drop of cloth. Nicholas leaves the house without saying a word, naked. When he tries to get his car, Vladimir shoots the front tire, then fires 2 more warning shots at the sky. Nicholas just runs in the street without knowing where he is going. Out of nowhere comes Mia driving her Lexus and picks him up. He tells her he is a lawyer and explains what just happened, bad luck. Later, after the dust settle, Betty and Mia open the vault at the basement and take all the money, expensive jewelries and diamonds and priceless paintings worth over $10 billion. They load them in a truck, drive to a military airport and place it in a private jet designed for the sole purpose of the theft. Betty gets in the plane and gives the pilot a nod to take off. The jet flies in the air. We cut to Swiss Bank. Betty deposits all of them and walks away as if she just took a leak at an expensive restaurant. We return from the flashback and find Betty and Mia in the bathtub surrounded by candles. They're listening to Halo by Beyoncé herself. Mia is behind. Betty is resting on Mia's chest with closed eyes. There is a silent moment. We see a bottle of wine. It seems they are lost in thoughts while listening to the song. Mia whispers something on Betty's ear. We do not know what she just told her. Betty smiles in beauty. They kiss French. The end. MTV also air Mysterious Island based on And There Was None by Agatha Christie late at night. It's a story about 6 couples, 12 best friends, come to a resort in a small island to experiment on S&M and bizarre erotic sex as well as couple swapping and swinging. Anybody can have sex with anybody. They take new powerful sex drug called X that is not yet in the market and involve in all kinds of sadomasochistic and erotic sex. They end up getting murdered sadistically one by one. Every person is a suspect. Veronica, her boyfriend, Lucas, Cynthia, Amber, and her boyfriend, John, are the last individuals are left alive. Next, Amber is found murdered sadistically. Veronica thinks Lucas is the killer. She had seen him fucking Amber while strangling her. But what she doesn't know is he is not alone. John is his partner in crime like Scream starring Neve Campbell. Lucas and John ties Veronica and Cynthia up on two separate chairs nude. Lucas kills John, takes Cynthia, removes her cloth, rapes her, cuts her chest, removes her heart and eats it raw as Veronica watches in shock. John takes X and tries to do the same thing to Veronica. She stabs him in the neck with a knife. He is not dead, comes after her. She jabs him in the heart and kills him. Someone unseen has been watching them with multiple television screens at his multimillion castle. A boat arrives at the shore. Veronica gets in the boat and leaves the island. The end. MTV Movie also airs 50 Cents, a cartoon movie based on Sin City. It's not really a cartoon, shot on green screen. It starts out animation but becomes a hit. 50 Cent agrees to do it himself on green screen to give it deadly sins-like atmosphere. He plays a private detective named Curtis, also known as 50 Cents, investigate murder cases and find people here and there, and when he sees something unjust, he grabs his gun and kills all of them. He is a little bit like Marvin Sin City, can take all kinds of bullets and can't be mistaken with a superhero but bad boy, and always dresses in expensive stylish clothes. Alexis Bledel plays his love interest. Yet Curtis is a player, sleeps with all kinds of beautiful girls like John Shaft. The difference between Curtis and Shaft is not only 50 sleeps with the sexiest women in Los Angeles but he is also one of the most brutal living soul in the world. They can shoot him 12 times or more, like I just said, he does not die, murders all of them, just goes to Alexis. She plays a detective named Amanda, started out her career as a nurse, becomes LAPD homicide detective. Regardless, every time he gets shot, she removes the bullets out of his body. They then have bloody erotic sex. She has to sew the wound back and put new bandages. He leaves her house and takes new case like looking for a missing girl, also investigates a murder case and eradicate drug dealers. That is how he makes peace with God. He does that all in just one episode. In the next show, Curtis investigates the disappearance of a model or something, also helps Amanda with murder cases here and there, then takes out a Russian mafia named Sergei who runs prostitution, carries out hits, murders, extortion, embezzlements, thefts, and money laundering and sells all kinds of drugs. Of course, 50 takes bullets like hell and does not go down till he kills all of them with his 2 Desert Eagles. He just lies on Amanda's bed. Amanda removes the bullets. They make love while he is still bleeding as usual. She loves him. The sex is amazing. He is addicted to her but due to the nature of his work, sleeps with all kinds of beautiful girls to get information as well as for pleasure like James Bond. We see all kinds of beautiful girls every show. Lewis continues to change the image of MTV into something phenomenon. After the success of 50 Cents the show, Lil Wayne stars in Little Dirty Bastard, also known as Little, based on Robert Rodriguez's Desperado to honor the late ODB, Old Dirty Bastard. Lil plays a man named Little, who seeks revenge on a drug lord named Santiago, who killed his Latino girlfriend Sandra, plays guitar and sings hip-hop and rock and roll, showing his music range, at his uncle's, Jimmy, club at night once in a while. During daytime, he is looking for Santiago. In doing so, Little always runs into trouble. Most of them work for Santiago, selling drugs, prostitution, gambling, strip clubs, etc. Santiago runs the town. Little kills the bad guys as if they were scams of the earth, always leaves a quarter on the chest of the last man he killed to send message to Santiago. A young female detective named Sabrina comes to the crime scenes and investigates the case here and there. She's just a show-off. Santiago always takes care of his own business. Actually, Sabrina is one of Santiago lovers. She is in his payroll. Sabrina informs Santiago the latest. Santiago hires a contract killer named Coyote to hunt Little down and kill the son of bitch despite the fact he has sent all kinds of mercenaries to take him out, including a girl named Sierra. She's lethal. Sierra knows deadly martial art. Yet Coyote is a psychopath, one of the best archers ever, kills people with arrows right and left, sometimes without looking, and it's impossible to kill him. When they fire at him, he sees bullets coming toward at his direction in slow motion. Coyote avoids them easily, then shoots them with his arrow and murders all of them. Coyote is like Orlando Bloom in The Lord of the Ring, or maybe Jeremy Renner as Hawkeye, or perhaps faster, just kills 12 cops in a minute with his arrows. Later, the cops came to arrest Little after he took out Santiago's men in a bar for the 3rd consecutive times. They have a wild shootout. Meanwhile, Coyote comes to the bar and tries to kill Little, hits him in the upper chest with an arrow. Little fires at him and escapes. Maria, played by Emily Ratajkowski, who owns a bakery shop, takes him to her store and removes the arrow from his chest. Meanwhile, SWAT team led by Ted surround Coyote. He shoots and kills a couple of SWAT. Yet snipers shoot him from all angles and send the assassin to hell to burn for eternity. He was one mean motherfucker, but one doubts his soul is going to rest in peace in hell. He might continue to shoot arrows like they were out of style. Ted actually works for Santiago, knows Coyote was working for the drug lord, but there is a $50 million reward whoever brings Little, dead or live. Ted wants to collect the reward by himself. In the meantime, Maria stops the bleeding, saves Little's life, sews and patches his wound. They make love. After sex, they sit in the bathtub. Little tells her his story. At the same time, Santiago finds out that Little is hiding at the bakery shop. Maria works for him. Santiago uses her business for drug trafficking. They put cocaine instead of flour. He has seen Little's blood on the flour, on which Little lay on wounded when he came to see her, sends mercenaries led by Carl to take them out. They come to kill him. Little shoots a couple of bad guys and escapes with Maria. They get in his convertible, come to a motel and lay low for a while. Yet the manager informs the cops. SWAT led by Ted and mercenaries led by Carl and a couple of contract killers who wants to collect the reward come to kill them. They fire at them. Little and Maria kill a lot of bad guys in one of the most explosive shootouts in the history of cinema ever and escape in a jeep. Little and Maria take a refuge at an abandoned cathedral. They are shot various part of their bodies, remove the bullets from each other bodies, kiss and make erotic love as the bloods exit through their wounds. Somehow the sex heals the mental aspect of the pain. They buy medicine, first aid and various painkillers, add groceries, patch up each other's wounds, take pills, cook all kinds of delicious foods and have dinner, keep low profiles till they get better. Little sings a couple of romantic songs for Maria. She gives it a shot as well. Maria sounds scrumptious. They make love here and there. Later, Little hires a man named Pedro. He wants to know people who work for Santiago and contract killers who are hired to kill him. Pedro gives him the names. Little turns the table around on them, begins to kill them one by one with a sniper rifle like Leon the Professional. Maria joins him in quest for vengeance. They kill a couple of bad guys, including the member of SWAT team, Ted, and all kinds of mercenaries. They burn his drugs and take millions of dollars worth of his money. Carl and his mercenaries come to the cathedral to kill him. They have a wild shootout. Little and Maria kill almost all of them. Yet Little tells Maria to get in the car and wait for him as they continue to kill the bad guys like there is no tomorrow. But Maria returns to the church to get a ring that he gave her. It belongs his deceased girlfriend, Sandra. He told her to hold on to it, he was not going to seek revenge anymore. He is in love with her. Even though he told her to forget the ring, she goes back to the cathedral to get it. She shoots and kills a couple of bad guys, grabs the ring and begins to exit while shooting like a natural-born killer. However, Carl and two bad guys grabs her, drug her, put her in a black SUV and drives away as Little watches helplessly. About 12 bad guys are shooting at him. He comes out of the hide, shoots and kills all of them at the speed of light, figuratively speaking. But it's fast as lightning. He quickly gets in his car and follow the SUV in vain, passing all kinds of car as if he was NASCAR driver, catches up with SUV. But they use 4 black SUVs to confuse him. He doesn't know which car to follow, lets his instinct guide him. Each SUV takes a different routine. Little sticks with car 1. The bad guys in SUV 1 shoot at him. He slows down and drives behind the SUV, then speeds up, takes out his car and thinks about shooting the tire. But what if Maria is inside the car? The vehicle would flip in the air, and he might kill her by accident. While he is thinking the scenario, the bad guys shoot at the front window and the hood. The car smokes and stops in the side of the road. His instinct was right. Maria is in the SUV 1. They bring her to Santiago's palace. Santiago tells Little to return millions of dollars that they stole from him and turn himself to him, or he will kill her. Little knows he is going to kill her regardless. He got his guns, comes to the Santiago's palace, kills a couple of bad guys and free her. He gives her a gun. They kill almost all of them, the exception of Santiago and Sabrina. Maria and Sabrina fight. Little and Santiago go at it with well-scripted martial art. Maria kills Sabrina. Little takes out Santiago. Little and Maria kiss French, get in Santiago's convertible and drive away. They come to Rio and kiss in a remote beach. The end. Of course MTV is not really must-see videos before you die without Justin Bieber. He stars in an MTV film titled Conspiracy Without a Theory based on No Way Out starring Kevin Costner and Sean Young. He plays a detective named St. Thomas who has nothing to lose but his soul. St. Thomas is called to investigate the death of the president's stepdaughter Jocelyn who committed suicide at the White House. The president, Richard, found her at the bathtub dead with her wrists slit open. Despite the fact his age, St. Thomas is an outstanding detective. He aces all the exam. However, this is his first case, just has to write a report here and there, then the case would be filed. Yet, St. Thomas wants to investigate the cause of the death farther. Why did Jocelyn commit suicide? Captain Carter, DCPD, tells him this is sensitive matter. The case is closed, just have fun, son. Later, St. Thomas is invited to the White House by the First Lady Melissa. He asked her few questions regarding to her daughter's suicide earlier. She thought he was quite charming. At the party, he meets a beautiful young woman named Sienna. She is the president's mistress, attracted to him. They seduce each other. Sienna tells him she is a White House intern, yet wants to study law and become a lawyer for non-profit organization. However, she doesn't have the heart to defend or prosecute a killer. He tells her he's the same, doesn't have the heart to shoot a suspect even if she steals his heart before his eyes and runs away with it, but won't let her get away without a kiss. Sienna knows he is seducing her. One thing leads to another. They make love at the Oval Office at the White House. St. Thomas and Sienna begin a secret relationship. Even though she has told him she is involved with a married man, he continues to see her. They make love here and there. Meanwhile, St. Thomas continues to investigate the suicide of Jocelyn without the captain approval. Sienna tells him she doubts Jocelyn committed suicide. She might be killed. He asks her who killed her. She tells him to make love to her first, then she would tell him. She is just flattering with him. They make beautiful love. He is in love with Sienna, can't get enough of her. While sitting in the bathtub, Sienna tells him Jocelyn was having an affair with the president. He is a little bit confused. The president is her stepfather. He asks her if she has any proof. Girls don't need proof, know it right away, some kind of sixth sense. What does she mean by sixth sense? Sienna says perfume, had smelled Jocelyn's perfume on the president a couple of times. However, she tricks him and changes the subject before he asks her too many questions, doesn't want to tell him she's been seeing the president, says humorously maybe she might run for office and become the female president of USA someday. She will invite him to the White House and make love to him at the Lincoln's bedroom. They kiss intimately. Sienna then promises him she will leave the man that she is having an affair with and spend the rest of her life with him but has to go now, puts her clothes and leaves despite the fact he asks her to stay, forget about whoever she is seeing, just spend the night with him. Sienna said she had to tell the man the truth and break up with him for once and for all. Sienna and the president meet at her lake house that the president bought for her. He accuses her cheating. She tells him she is leaving him. She is in love with another man. The president slaps her on the face and pushes her hard. She falls down on the coffee table. It breaks down. A sharp glass pierces through the back of her neck and comes out of her throat. She is still alive. The president asks her, who is her lover, what is his name? She smiles at him helplessly soaked in blood. She says Tommy, and to tell him that she loves him very much. That is her last word. The president men Robert and Luke clean all the fingerprints and trash the place to make it look like a robbery. St. Thomas is assigned to investigate the case. She never told him about the man whom she was having an affair with. He looks at her body. Tears fills his eyes. In the other hand, the president puts Scott, general counsel, in charge of the inquiry of Sienna's case. Scott suggests to frame Sienna's main lover. The man is also a suspected of French sleeper agent codenamed Tommy. Then his removal must be made a matter of national security. The White House Investigation Committee led by David, who is put by Scott himself, take over the case from Washington, D.C. police. They obtain all evidence. Scott sees a sex video of St. Thomas and Sienna underwater recorded by Sienna with her new cell phone. But it is not clear, hard to tell who the person is. In the meantime, the president is forced to cooperate with D.C. police by Senator James and a couple of congressmen. The White House Investigation Committee allows only one D.C. police to help them the case. The president doesn't know St. Thomas had been in a relationship with Sienna, and selects him to find and arrest Tommy due to his age and lack of experience. Yet it puts St. Thomas in ad position of investigating himself. Meanwhile, St. Thomas is not allowed to share the investigation with DCPD. He has to report direct to David or Scott. Nonetheless, Scott hires two assassins, Vincent and Ted, to eliminate everyone who know of the president's affair with Sienna. St. Thomas and Scott look at Sienna's Facebook album. She doesn't really have a lot of friends in DC area. Luckily, most of the pictures are taken in California. Sienna was born and raised in San Francisco, just moved to DC recently after she met the president in San Jose at Computer Engineering Convention. He bought her a lake house in Maryland secretly where they met, and a regular house in Virginia. Scott then sees a photo of Sienna with a girl named Sophia taken at the Washington Monument, at the last seconds. St. Thomas knew her. He and Sienna had sex at her house. Fortunately, she did not write her address on the description area. St. Thomas says she could be just a friend who came to DC to visit in order to cover it up. Scott wants to find out who she is regardless. He accesses an advanced database, finds her address and prints out her profile. St. Thomas and Scott come to Sophia's house in DC and ask her few questions. Scott says he wants to know who Sienna's lover was. Sophia looks at St. Thomas and tells Scott she doesn't know who he is, once asked Sienna to tell her who she was seeing. Sienna replied if she told her, she would have to kill her, a matter of national security. It's for her, Sophia, own protection. Scott looks at St. Thomas as if he sensed a lie but chooses to say nothing. They leave the house. Meanwhile, they continue to work on the video with advanced computer program to get a clear image of the suspect. It seems to be working as planned but it might take some time. A young woman named Samantha is in charge of the program. She is a good friend of St. Thomas. He met her at DC Film Festival. She made a short film. 5 people showed up including St. Thomas. 4 got up and left but he watched everything. They talked about the film. She admitted she's not really a filmmaker but programmer, and did this in her free time. He told her it was one of the best short film he had ever seen for a while. They have been good friends since then. In the other hand, Scott sends Vincent and Ted to get rid of Sophia. They injected her with poison and make it look like she died of accidental heart attack. Later, St. Thomas is contacted by Rebecca, Jocelyn's friend. Rebecca gives him Jocelyn's diary. He reads it and finds out why Jocelyn committed suicide. Indeed, Jocelyn was having an affair with her stepfather, then discovered the president was sleeping with Sienna. Richard told Jocelyn he had to end it with her. She then committed suicide feeling betrayed. The president had promised her a lot of things. St. Thomas decides to link the president to Sienna's murder, begins to search for evidence that Richard might have given Sienna, then remembers an expensive bracelet that Sienna gave him for his birthday. It's the president who gave her. St. Thomas left it in the drawer at his office, drives like a nut in the street of District of Columbia and comes to DC police station, grabs the bracelet, leaves the station quietly, talks to his friend Bruce at a jewelry store and finds out the gift is from Charlene, Princess of Monaco, branded with CPM. He needs time, has words with Samantha who is working on the image, to delay it for a while. He tells her about Sienna's relationship with the president, and that Richard might have killed her, also admits the person in the cell phone is him. He was in love with Sienna. Samantha agrees to help him. In the meantime, St. Thomas contacts a girl named Lillian at DCPD and asks her to see if the gift is registered in the State Department database. She finds it right away and gives him the printout at the spot. He comes to his car and finds a girl named Nicole sitting on the hood of his car while smoking cigarette. She is his girlfriend. One day, out of the blue, she packed her stuff and moved to Los Angeles without telling him where she was going to pursue acting. He thought she was kidnapped. Or maybe a serial killer raped and cuts her up to pieces and got rid of her. She is extremely beautiful. Luckily, he knew her better than the angels in heaven. She wandered around in Hollywood, shopping here and there, then went to club, got stoned, waked up in the middle of the day, auditioned for a bad film and thought about calling him but her demons told her to forget him. She is now a star lost in method acting. Nicole hugs him. They kiss sweetly. But she feels pain on his lips, asks him what's bothering him. He tells her he missed her a lot. They kiss more intimately. She then tells him she feels dirty, wants to take shower at his crib. They drive to his house. St. Thomas works on the case at the living room. Nicole takes shower at the bathroom while singing Wicked Game by Chris Isaak. It's playing on the stereo. Nicole then gets out of the shower and comes to the living room nude while she is still wet and sits on his lap. They kiss French. St. Thomas picks her up and takes her to the bedroom. They kiss more intimately, caress and make love. In the other hand, Samantha is having an affair with Scott. After they have sex, she tells him St. Thomas was fucking Sienna and thinks that the president was having an affair with her as well and Richard might have killed Sienna, thinks St. Thomas is delusional. Scott thanks her for the information, then shoots and kills her with St. Thomas's gun, which he took earlier. He puts St. Thomas's card on the floor to frame him for her death. He then makes a call. St. Thomas and Nicole are in the bathtub. Nicole is telling him the story of her life. He then hears a sound, quickly grabs his cell phone, looks at the security on his cell phone, sees about 8 Cadillac Escalade arriving at his house. About 23 mercenaries led by named Travis get out of the SUVs and stand in front of his house. They are carrying machine guns. St. Thomas quickly gets out of the tub and puts the towel around him, pulls Nicole out of the tub, and they exit the bathroom. He tells her to put on her cloth as they come to the bedroom. They both put on their clothes on as fast as possible. He comes to the living room where there is a painting, presses a button and opens it like a door. We see all kinds of automatic guns. St. Thomas grabs a couple of guns. 4 bad guys break the glasses and enter through the windows at the living room, must be some sort of a special forces, it doesn't matter. St. Thomas kills all 4 of them in a heartbeat. The main door explodes wide open. 2 bad guys enter. He shoots and kills them, quickly run to the bedroom to get Nicole. She is sitting on the floor next to the bed. A mercenary enters through the window and fires at them blindly. St. Thomas shoots him in the face, takes Nicole's hand and tells her they have to leave. Nicole gets up. He gives her a gun and they walk toward the living room. 5 mercenaries are waiting for them, fire at them. St. Thomas holds Nicole take covers by the door, comes out the hide, fires and kills all 5 of them. After well-scripted shootouts, in which St. Thomas and Nicole kill about 17 bad guys, Travis grabs a launcher and fire at them. St. Thomas and Nicole quickly hide in the safe ground as if it were designed for the sole purpose of nuclear blast. The house explodes to shards. They get out the ground, come to the garage, got on St. Thomas's brand new Yamaha motorcycle. Neither St. Thomas nor Nicole is wearing helmet, he roars the Yamaha. The door opens automatically. They fly through the air, get on the street and ride away. Travis and the bad guys follow them. There will be breathtaking action scenes, including St. Thomas taking out a helicopter from his motorcycle in the air. But let's keep it short and come to the point. St. Thomas kills all the bad guys, has to fight Travis who is the last person standing. They go at it with amazing martial art. After a well-scripted combat, St. Thomas takes Travis out, makes sure Nicole unhurt, brings her to Cassandra's house, a good friend of him. They kiss intimately. St. Thomas tells Nicole he will come and get her. He tells Cassandra to keep eye on Nicole, borrows her car and leaves. St. Thomas sees news on his cell phone. He is wanted for the death of Samantha. The police are looking for him. Out of nowhere come 2 assassins, Vincent and Ted, behind him and fire at him. He drives dexterously, passes a couple of cars that are in front of him, then turns his car at the opposite direction and fires at them. A bullet hits Vincent in the face. Ted, who is behind the wheel, got shot in the throat, holds his neck and dies. The car hits a curve, flips in the air, crashes and explodes. St. Thomas, who knows Scott killed Samantha, drives to Scott's house in Maryland, shoots him between his eyes, takes his ID, comes to the White House and shows the guards Scott's ID. They let him in without suspicion. He walks to the Oval Office, puts the bracelet in front of the president and confronts him at gunpoint, shows him the gift registry printout and tells him he is going to prison. The president tells him it was an accident, and knows that St. Thomas is Sienna's lover, but didn't bother to tell that to anyone, adds if St. Thomas were Sienna's lover, he must be Tommy, a French spy. St. Thomas says there is no such thing a French spy. Tommy doesn't exist. It's a lie. Richard smiles at him sarcastically, opens the drawer, takes out a gun, points at St. Thomas, tells him he is not ready to go to prison, turns the gun to his head and shoots himself. David and the president men walk into the office. St. Thomas tells David the president killed Sienna and committed suicide. When the White House officials are about to arrest him, David orders them to let him go. St. Thomas leaves the White House. In the meantime, the compute positively identified St. Thomas as Sienna's lover. St. Thomas comes to a cemetery and places a rose on Sienna's grave. Two men approach him, one of them shows him his badge and they take him, question him at a safe house. St. Thomas says he is innocent, and all of a sudden starts speaking French. He accuses the French for the murder of Jocelyn, knows they brainwashed her. They call at her house at the night of her murder. In flashback, we see Jocelyn sitting in a chair and looking at various images of the president. The French are brainwashing her. They give her electric shock, then call her and tell her the code. It is the trigger. She removes her clothes, fills the bathtub with hot water, cuts her wrists, sits in the bathtub and commits suicide. We return from flashback. A man named Petit, the head of French Secret Service who has been listening to the interrogation behind the glass, come to the room and congratulate him. St. Thomas might be the real Tommy. The French's mole in DCPD. He was supposed to work his way on the top of the system and then gather information for French intelligence. Petit was aware of the president affair with both Sienna and Jocelyn, then ordered St. Thomas to seduce Sienna and gather intelligence from her. St. Thomas didn't know the French involved in the death of Jocelyn, wasn't informed about that detail and found out on his term through a detective work. He accuses Petit of Jocelyn's murder. So the French get the president out of the office, put the vice president, who is a French mole himself, and lift the embargo on French who are secretly building antimatter weapon capable of turning anything into dust, which will make them the new powerhouse. Petit tells him it has nothing to do with the president, nothing to do Jocelyn, nothing to do USA, just wanted to teach his son the art of espionage, and he is proud of him. St. Thomas tells his father he no longer wants to be a spy and quits. He jokingly says I ask for resignation in English. They were speaking French. After St. Thomas leaves the French's safe house, the two French men ask Petit what's next. He tells them to leave him alone. All he wanted to be an actor since he was a baby. I tricked him. One of them suggests humorously they can change his appearance a little bit and get him a Hollywood agent to throw off the authorities. His father says that's not a bad idea. St. Thomas then come to Cassandra's house to pick up Nicole. She gets in his car. They drive away. She asks him where they are going. He tells her humorously Hollywood. What's in Hollywood? Stuffs that dreams are made of. She sits on his lap and kisses him as he continues to drive. He pulls the car in the middle of the street. They kiss more intimately. The end. Lewis is the creative director of all the shows and films that air on MTV. If he sees any show that has a low rating or falling out of the radar, he would sit and fix it, constantly coming up with all kinds of ideas. Part 39. Meanwhile, Lewis would love to have Rachel with MTV but she remains loyal to VH1. Nonetheless, they make love here and there. Later, Lewis is approached by a woman named Veronica. She works for Cinema X. It's a new network equivalent of HBO, tells him that she wants him to work for her, kind of teases him, plays with his emotion. Anybody can turn around an existing network but can he change a new network? She grabs him by his nuts, figuratively speaking, and to make matter more appealing Veronica has already signed Rachel. Lewis leaves MTV and begins to work for Cinema X, comes up with a couple of shows and movies including Cowboy and the Mexican, a story about a man named Phoenix who lost his Caucasian father, Levi, and an African-American mother, Maria, to outlaws hired by a tycoon named Trevor, as a baby, and later redeems himself. The story begins with Levi's refusal to sell a land that's rich with petroleum. Trevor sends outlaws led by Dalton, a bloodthirsty killer. They kill Levi, murder his servants and his wife Maria. However, before she was killed, she put her infant son on a horse and sent it away. The horse brings the baby to Native American territory. The Native Americans raise him, name him Phoenix. Later, he comes to the city and meet a thief named Max who mastered the art of robbing banks. Max and Phoenix robs a couple of banks here and there. They meet two of the most beautiful girls in the world, Megan and Tatiana. Max seduces Megan. Tatiana is into Phoenix, likes him. Max is ladies' man. He softens Megan's heart. They kiss and make love at a ranch. Meanwhile, Phoenix and Tatiana talk about romance. One thing leads to another. They kiss and make love at a motel. Due to his multiracial, the authorities call Phoenix the Mexican. Max and Phoenix are wanted by every law enforcement agency, most sought criminals in the Western Hemisphere. Later, they rob a bank owned by the tycoon Trevor who is running for the president of USA. Trevor sends Dalton and the same outlaws, who kill Phoenix's parent at the beginning of the film to hunt them down and bring them dead or alive. But that's proved to be difficult. Max and Phoenix are very skillful gunfighters, can see bullets coming at their direction and easily dodges them like Neo in the Matrix. This is not your typical Western, head of its time for its own good. They kill a couple of bad guys who come to get them and escape in the desert. Dalton and the outlaws kidnap their girlfriends, Megan and Tatiana, and threaten to kill them if Max and Phoenix don't turn themselves to the law. The bad boys won't be fooled by that, kill the crooks and save their girlfriends. Meanwhile, Phoenix kills Trevor and gets his revenge. That's just the synopsis. It has fascinating characters, cabaret, romance, and plot twists in all. It is followed by Bad Cops. A story about a group of corrupted cops who involve in criminal activity. They kill drug dealers and steal their drugs and money. They keep the money, sell the drugs to rival drug dealers. Mia, a young FBI, played by Olga Kurylenko, is assigned to investigate the case. She is seduced by the ringleader Patrick. They involve in a passionate sexual relationship while he is helping her investigate the case, pretending to be innocent. Meanwhile, the cops begin to intimidate her. They put masks, come to her house, put the gun on her head and tell her to stop investigating the case, but that only ticks her off. She knows Patrick has something to do with it. They could have easily killed her. She finds out who they are and set to expose them. However, before she does anything, they come to kill her. She shoots and kills all of them in self-defense, yet explosive action takes. It's a little bit similar with Bad that I told you earlier. Cinema X then airs Love, Romance, and the Pursuit of Pleasure. Amelia is a movie star. She is in Paris to promote her new film, Love Paris So Much. At her hotel, Amelia meets a good-looking man named George who is in Paris for business and happens to be staying at the same hotel like Scarlett Johansson and Bill Murray in Lost Translation, except he is not an actor and she is not there with her boyfriend. They sit at the bar and have interesting conversation. It's early. Amelia puts a fake wig. They leave the hotel, watch a French movie at a theater and have dinner at a romantic restaurant. They then come to Blue's house, dance slow, take a walk in a bridge, conversing, stand lips to lips while gazing at each other's eyes, kiss French and make love at his hotel room. Meanwhile, New York City, George's wife Amanda, editor for Vanity Fair, meets a man named Jacob. He is a journalist, just hired by Vogue to interview Jennifer Lawrence who might have changed her mind, not sure, at the last minute due to the agreement she made with Vanity Fair. Vogue sends Jacob to have word with Amanda who is in charge of the interview, and comes to some kind of strategy. Jennifer wants to appear on the cover of Vogue but she promised Vanity Fair to give them exclusive and don't want to let them down. She is not very good at saying no. Why can't she be both on the covers of Vanity Fair and Vogue? That was the original plan. However, Jennifer just got engaged to an actor named David, they are planning to get married in August. She wants to open up about her relationship either to Vanity Fair or Vogue, but not to both fashion magazines at the same time. It feels awkward as she put it down. She would let one magazine into her world without no strings attached and the right to her wedding photographs. However, they have straightened it out, come to terms with their differences. Amanda and Jacob agree to meet at restaurant in the heart of Manhattan and talk about it. Jacob is surprised to find out Amanda is extremely attractive woman, looks like a film star herself. She is attracted to him as well. Jacob seduces her and brings her to his apartment, seems prepared, has various groceries throughout his kitchen. They cook all kinds of scrumptious foods. Jacob is also a photographer, photographs Amanda with Canon EOS 5DS while she is cooking. She then removes her cloth and poses for him on Victoria's Secret underwear, cooking. He continues to photograph her. She then removes her underwear and poses nude for him while cooking. He takes a couple of nude pictures of her. She walks up to him, takes his hand and lowering the camera toward her vagina. He photographs it in close-up, seems HBO late night. They kiss French. He picks her up, places her on the kitchen table, takes few more nude picture of her in close-up, removes all of his clothes, gets between her legs, kisses her lips, caresses her breasts, plants a soft kiss on her belly, goes down and gives her oral pleasure. She can't take it, the pleasure is getting into her soul, pulls his hair. They kiss intimately and begin to make love while he is photographing her. Another part of the world, Jacob's girlfriend Penelope is in Pamplona, Spain. She is there visiting her mother Anna who is in St. James Hospital recovering from kidney surgery. William is in Pamplona for running of the bulls. He's run by a bull and brought to St. James Hospital. The doctor tells him he should be fine. It is not life-threatening. William, who is wandering around at the hospital, sees Penelope. There is an instant attraction, strike up a conversation. Penelope likes him very much but notices the ring on William's finger, thinks she shouldn't get involved with a married man, makes up a good excuse and walks away. Later that day, William runs into Penelope at Spain National Museum. But this time, William is not going to let her out of his sight, tells her, we don't have a lot of control over our thoughts, emotions, and actions. But whatever little control we have, we should make the best of it. They have wine, take a walk in the aesthetic part of Pamplona. One thing leads to another. They kiss next to a water fountain and make love at her mother house. We come to Tokyo, Japan. William's wife Lucia is in Tokyo to close a deal with Sony. She meets Sony executives and Michael, 35, new Sony creative director. She is in charge of Butterfly Effect Pictures. They just produce film titled The Neon Matrix. She is trying to convince Sony to distribute the film in Asia. Michael tells her it's a done deal and asks her out, to talk about it over dinner. She is into him and accepts the invitation with a beautiful smile. They have dinner, talk about the film a little bit but he is interested in her. They take a walk, kiss and make love at his condo, looking over the city of Tokyo. Los Angeles. Michael's wife Natalie, an actress, and Amelia's husband Kevin, an actor, sit at coffee table at his Malibu beach house reading a script, written by Kevin himself. He wants Natalie to star in the female principal role with him, tells her that he wrote the script Natalie in mind. They talk about the sexual nature of the script, it's graphic, how they are married and all. He convinces her that he can't see any other actress in the starting role but her, and how he pours out his heart and soul on the project, dreaming about her beautiful eyes day and night. She just can't resist him. They kiss and make love, acting out the scene, might as well prepare ahead of time. At the end, they all meet their partners in innocent crimes, but keep their secrets and sins to themselves. Amelia reads the script but doesn't suspect anything. The end. Mars 3200. It's the year 3200 AD. Mars is inhabitable after it's infused with greenhouse gas and all kinds of oxygen. Millions of people live in the red planet. People travel from Mars to Earth and Earth to Mars as they please. It is the ultimate destination. Later, deadly alien viruses break out and kill almost the entire population of Mars. Those who survive the outbreak drop a nuclear bomb on people who are infected with the viruses and return to Earth safely, while totally abandoning Mars. 30 years later, 3230 AD, a group of 10 scientists led by Ian are sent to Mars to check it out. They run into advanced zombies that feast on humans' flesh and are capable of teleportation short distance. They're extremely fast, smart, mean, merciless and aggressive. Meanwhile, they encounter a couple of humans, Martians, who survived the nuclear holocaust as well as the viruses and have been breeding here and there. They are fighting to stay alive versus the zombies. Ian and his fellow scientists team up with Martians and battle these super zombies, would do everything in their power to stay alive and return back to Earth safe and sound. It's a mind-boggling action film. Tie connection. Jamie, played by Tony Jaa, comes to USA to visit his brother Lou who works for Paul, one of the most notorious gangsters in the world. Jamie starts out working in the family business, Thai restaurant, with his cousin, delivering Thai foods in the Hollywood area, ends up falling in love with a singer and actress named Crystal. She is amazed by his martial arts skill and begins to date him secretly, little bit similar to Romeo Must Die starring Jet Li and Aaliyah, but it's a total different story. We find out why Jamie comes to USA. He is actually a police officer. In Thailand, Paul killed Jamie and Lou's father, Joseph, a police capital who came close to bring Paul down in his drug operation, mainly heroin, in front of them while they were still kids. Lou, the older brother, was also a police officer and supposed to build case against Paul and extradite him to Thailand but got sucked into deep in the game and switched side. Jamie is trying to talk him out of it, but Lou is hooked into the vice, abusing drugs, gambling, and women. Jamie joins the gang in order to seek revenge yet changes his mind. His father had taught him the law always comes first. Jamie knows he died in the line of duty. His father told Jamie death would come to all of us, didn't have fear of death and went out doing what he had loved doing. Jamie wants to take down Paul lawfully but finds out it is not easy as he hopes. Paul is FBI informant, protected by the Prince of Darkness, CIA, FBI, and the government of North America. No files are ever made against him. They are dropped before judges see them. Nonetheless, in order to show his loyalty, Jamie has to kill rival gangsters. He does that with some of the deadliest martial arts, gunshots, and ultra-violence we've ever seen in the history cinema. He breaks their bones as if they were sticks. Brain explodes like fireworks at the 4th of July. Meanwhile, Jamie manages to see Crystal. They go to a museum, watch movie, come to a romantic restaurant and have seafood and glasses of wines. They take a walk in the park conversing, kiss, and make love at his new condo that he bought with Paul's money. Later, we discover LAPD is trying to build a case against Paul. They have no knowledge of he is FBI informant but follow every move that he is making with the help of an undercover cop named Robert who is working inside Paul's organization Crime, gathering incriminating information. Later, Paul finds out Lou is fucking up, selling drugs to rival gangsters and keeping the profit for himself to feed his drug addiction, gambling debts, and all, beats him inches to death while everybody is watching. Jamie tries to intervene but Robert stops him. They will kill both of them. Paul's goons are standing with machine guns and would turn both of them into spaghetti bowls. Lou falls in coma. They take him to hospital. Robert tells him that he knows Jamie is Thai officer. He is undercover cop for LAPD as well. He has been building case against Paul. He has to calm down and do this according to law. Shortly, Paul finds out that Jamie is a cop. His goons kill Lou at the hospital. In the meantime, they come to Jamie's luxurious condo to kill him, hundreds of them. Jamie massacres most of them with guns, brain exploding like bad thoughts, and lethal martial art, punching, kicking, and breaking their necks to kingdom comes as if they were depraved fiends and demons at the lowest part of hell, and escapes with cuts and bruises. He is sad they killed his brother but pissed off to find out that Paul is holding Crystal as a hostage, contacts his uncle Johnny who has always told him, fuck the law to hell. Kill that son of bitch at all costs. He doesn't deserve to live. Johnny has all kinds of guns at his house. Jamie grabs a couple of guns, comes to the headquarters of Paul, a 100-story skyscraper, and slaughters all the bad guys to Inferno. He got help from Robert here and there. Jamie and Paul fight with amazing martial art. Paul has a couple of black belts, karate, taekwondo, and sambo. After a well-scripted fight, Jamie kills Paul and saves Crystal. The end. Ladies in Red starring Gwyneth Paltrow as Agent Katie and Lupita Nyong'o as Agent Jane. Katie and Jane are agents at LIR, the equivalent of Men in Black, except they wear all kinds of beautiful red dresses. LIR governs the universe and regulate aliens who enter Earth from various planets. They are assigned to track down an alien named Rix, who is from a planet called Senti, entered the country without authorization. They are told Rix is in the run, and believe he might have stolen the cradle of creation, the cosmic code that gives the basic structure to everything. It is the most powerful treasure in the universe. Agent Katie and Agent Jane have to find him and bring him in, but Rix is a step ahead of them, eludes Agent Katie and Jane, easily taking all kinds of forms like mystics and X-Men here and there. Meanwhile, a man named Edward comes to Katie's life and tells her that he is her little brother. Her father has an affair with his mother. He grew up without knowing his father. His mother just told him few weeks ago before she died, looked in the computer and found out he has a half-sister. Edward, who is an FBI agent, just wants to get to know her, that's all, doesn't need anything from her. Katie is surprised, thinks he is just a kid and looks at his partner Lucas. She is attracted to him. It's a pleasant surprise. In the meantime, Jane develops a crush on Edward. He is attracted to her as well. Later, Katie and Lucas got hooked up. Meanwhile, Jane and Edward got together, have a romantic dinner. He tells her he is interested in aliens, thinks they live among us. FBI doesn't know lib exist. Jane and Katie once flashed that thing even on the president of the US and erased him memory. That is a different story. Edward tells Jane he works on X-File at the FBI, but it's bullshit, found nothing but rocks here and there. People usually makes up stories. Nonetheless, he swears he might have seen an alien crossing the street but not sure. It could be in his dream. Jane thinks about flashing that thing on him but doesn't want to damage his brain. They told them they work at NASA, counting stars, rocket scientists something. Anyhow, one thing leads to another. Jane and Edward kiss and make love. Meanwhile, Katie and Lucas cook at her house. She makes all kinds of delicious food, not going to eat all of that. Katie just loves to cook. Lucas helps her, makes desserts. They sit and have dinner in the candlelight, dance slow, kiss and make love. Then come Matlow and his entourages to Earth. They're from a planet called Tenti. Matlow contacts Agent Katie and Agent Jane, and Agent Ford, the head of LIR, tells them that Rix is the most wanted criminal in Tenti. Katie and Jane get a hold of Rix. To their surprises, Rix doesn't put any fight. They arrest him quietly and bring him to LIR headquarters for questioning, ask Rix about the stolen ring. He gives them the treasure, tells them it is the cradle of creation, the very thing that started everything. It doesn't belong to Matlow and Tenti. Matlow stole it from a nearby galaxy called Ceta where he is originally from. If it gets in the wrong person's hand, it will be the destruction of the universe. Matlow and his entourages are not what they seem to be. They are the force of darkness. LIR tell Matlow they are going to hold the evidence and will not hand over Rix till they review the case further. Later, Matlow and his entourages come to LIR headquarters and kill most of the LIR agents. Matlow shoots Rix with laser. They take the treasure from the evidence room and leave Earth with their spaceship. Matlow then learns the treasure is fake. Katie and Jane come to the headquarters and find Rix inches from death. He tells them where the actual treasure is located before he dies. Katie and Jane come to the place where Rix told them. It's a ring. Katie places the ring on her finger, the secret reveals to her. The universe evolves around her before her eyes. She finds out the cosmos is not only infinite but there are hidden dimensions and infinite copies of her exist throughout quantum universe, doing all kinds of things, the past, the present, and the future exist at the same time. Yet as soon as she removes the ring from her finger, things become normal. Katie and Jane also discover it has the power to destroy the entire universe in super black hole like I told you earlier in Quantum Hex. Matlow and his entourage return back to Earth. Matlow kidnap Edward and Lucas and bring them into the mix. Matlow tells Agent Katie and Jane they will kill them if they don't give him the treasure. Katie and Jane bring the treasure. But Katie changes her mind in the last minutes and confronts Matlow and his entourage. Katie and Matlow fight. Jane is confronted by Mida, who is second in command, and after a well-scripted human versus alien fight, Jane electrocutes Mida and takes her out. And wins the fight. Edward and Lucas take out Matlow's entourages. Katie knocks Matlow down with iron, but when she tries to cuff him, he resists arrest and tries to kill her. She finishes him with a laser gun. Katie and Jane put the treasure in LIR warehouse as a classified case. The end. Meanwhile, MTV without Lewis feels empty. They begin to fall out of the radar. They are still popular but lost their magic touch. Later, X Cinema is acquired by MTV for record-breaking $24 billion in attempt to get back Lewis, who is considered a living legend. Lewis returns to MTV and resurrect the network. He is just happy he got Rachel at the MTV. Later, he would write her a couple of movies and she would become a full-time actress, but now they make love surrounded by candles. After sex, they sit in the bathtub. He tells her she is the most beautiful girl his heart has ever seen since it started beating. She tells him whatever. Lewis suggests humorously she should be a movie star instead of working behind the camera. Rachel tells him she will think about it. They kiss French. The end. Kate, that's an interesting story. I like how you turned around MTV. I could not stand most of the shows they have been airing. I mean, I haven't watched MTV for a while. I can see myself appearing in Sex Split and talk about sex, but doubt MTV would air Miley Cyrus's Strange Fruit. Sounds extreme. Chapter 14. Chris, they don't really have to air anything. She was sending me a message. If you watch Wrecking Ball, you would know she's looking for trouble. To be honest, I haven't even started with her. I am like a copper ready to strike at the right moment. Forget Madonna, don't even mention Marilyn Monroe, she is going to rule the world. Kate, anyway, earlier on the phone, why does Scarlett Johansson want to see you about? Adrian, this script I wrote titled Principle of Pleasure. Kate, what's it about? Adrian, it's a story about a girl who went to Rio to study about human sexuality, and finds pleasure that she thought it has never existed. Scarlett plays a graduate student named Mary who comes to Rio de Janeiro to write her thesis on the art of samba. She meets a charismatic businessman named Tristan, who exports coffee to USA. It's love at first sight. Yet Tristan might be up to no good, could be working for a drug lord named Carlos, smuggling drug to the US hidden in coffee beans. Nonetheless, he shows Mary the time of her life, they have some of the best sex in the history of cinema, don't leave anything for imagination, you see everything, she is addicted to him. He is deep into her, nothing gives him pleasure more than pleasing her sexually. It is inspired a little bit by Wild Orchid starring Mickey Rourke, Care Otis, and Jacqueline Bisset, but I still don't know what Wild Orchid is about. I watched it long time ago on HBO. Kate, it sounds stimulating, I like the title Principle of Pleasure. Adrian, I saw her on the cover of W magazine, kind of missed her. I have this idea called Vision based on Spike Jonze' Her. It's about a man named Lewis who falls in love with visual operating system Scarlett Johansson. Actually, she plays both anchorwoman and visual operating system. He is a computer programmer. It's set in the near future New York City. The movie starts with Nathan and his girlfriend Julie breaking up. He comes home and watches an anchor woman named Scarlett Johansson whom he's obsessed with. I'm using her real name for some unknown reason. Kate, I'm listening. Adrian, whenever he gets stressed or sad, he turns off the volume and talks to her. In the sense, she is his imaginary friend. Nathan tells her that he broke up with his girlfriend. He's drinking scotch from a bottle filled with soda, Coke. Then all of a sudden, she begins to speak to him for real. Nathan thinks he is drunk, turns off the TV, puts the drink aside and switches on the TV back. She is real, tells him she is OS like Spike Jonze's Her, except she is VOS, Visual Operating System. She is a gift from his friend, won't tell him who it's from, a little bit like True Romance when Alabama tells Clarence that someone who worked with him at the Comic-Con store hired her to spend time with him. However, Scarlett VOS is not a call girl. She might be artificial intelligent but nobody really knows what she is. They talk about their dreams, nightmares, passions, desires, fears, etc. Nathan takes her everywhere he goes, like the film Her. The only different would be, she is visual. He can see her smile, cry, laugh, talk and sing, doing all kinds of beautiful facial expression like Boys Don't Cry video that Scarlett Johansson has on YouTube. They even have sex. She gets nude and touches herself sexually and all, he does his things, they do it better than Joseph Gordon-Levitt's Don John. Sometimes, he plays her in 3D and they get it on. She then encourages him to meet the real reporter, Scarlett Johansson. He meets her, she likes him right away. It's love at first sight. They talk about various things including love, romance, life, philosophy, the universe, consciousness, and infinity. One thing leads to another. They kiss and make love. They then can't get enough of each other. They have sex everywhere they could think of it. It feels like a Discovery Channel the director cut. Meanwhile, Scarlett is surprised that Nathan knows a lot of things about her. Scarlett VOS tells him everything about the real Scarlett. She says she goes through her profiles, emails, Facebook, Twitter, cell phone, etc. Whenever she is using electronic, she collects anything that she could find in the system. Then Scarlett VOS tells him something that Scarlett Johansson has never told to anyone, a secret that Scarlett said she would take to her grave. Scarlett thinks he's the devil or maybe, he's God. How does he know? She is surprised how he found out. It scares her a little bit. She is confused but simultaneously, it turns her on. They have the best sex of their lives. Nathan confronts Scarlett VOS. What's going on? How does she know all these information? She tells him she is not actually VOS. She's Scarlett's conscious. What does she mean she is Scarlett's conscious? She tells him he'll not understand if she starts explaining to him, like teaching calculus to a dog but wishes him good luck with his relationship with Scarlett. Nathan and Scarlett continue to hit it off. They have some of the best sex in the history of cinema, better than the Principle of Pleasure. Scarlett says sex is physical expression of love but it's also emotional. If two people are in love, they should have sex as often as possible. Regardless, she thinks she finds her soulmate. Nathan knows she's the love of his life, just can't get enough of her, her exotic eyes, her spellbinding lips, her voluptuous body, thinks she is out of this fucking universe. Nathan stops talking to Scarlett VOS and chooses to have a normal romantic relationship with the real Scarlett Johansson. Then one day, while he is watching Scarlett Johansson addressing news, Scarlett VOS tells him that she missed him. She's kind of jealous of her, why she gets to have so much fun. Nathan tells her that he is in love with her. He can't speak to her anymore. She's illusion. He turns off the TV and leaves. She then appears on his cell phone, iPods, TV screens, laptop, computers at work, high-tech video advertisement and digital billboards and begins to stalk him. She tells him she knows everything about him, his secrets, real fears, desires, demons, weakness, etc. It is nightmare. She asks him to make love to her. Nathan ignores her. But the more he ignores her, the scarier she gets. She becomes like Glenn Close in Fatal Attraction, I can't be ignored. She is everywhere. Sometimes, the screens are blank. She only appears to him and talks to him. He tells her to leave him alone. People think he's crazy. Why is he talking to himself? Nathan doesn't know what's going on. Is he going crazy? She tells him human brain is not wired enough to grasp the complexity of extra dimensions, invisible universes, and all that quantum physics bullshit. Nathan cuts all communication with her, gets rid of all electronic devices, iPod, his cell phone, quits his job, throws his laptop, collects all his money that he stole hacking various internet bank accounts and takes a vacation with Scarlett at a remote island, like the Blue Lagoon starring Brooke Shields and Christopher Atkins, where there is no electronic device, no cell phone, no technology. There is nothing whatsoever. They swim, do scuba diving, hike, hunt, cook, visit interesting places that the island has to offer, and make love frequently. They spend 4 weeks on the island, just making love. Then Scarlett tells him she has to get back to the city. They can't continue to live like this for the rest of their lives. Besides, she is bored. But Nathan convinces her to stay for a while. They take futuristic sex pills that rejuvenate stamina, endurance, sex drive, energy, passion, and the entire hormones, 100 times more powerful than methamphetamine, ecstasy, cocaine, and Viagra combined, and make love for 12 days straight without taking a break till they are out of breaths. The next day, he gets a mail, an iPod. It's VOS Scarlett. She tells him she has been watching him. He can run but can't hide. She is in love with him, he changed something in her. She asks him to make love to her. He tells her that he doesn't want to hurt Scarlett's feeling, and breaks the iPod with a rock. Nathan then decides to find out who she really is, doesn't have a choice but to go online, does a lot of research. However, there is nothing in the computer. He asks her what she is. She says even if she tells him who she is, he will never understand the depth of her essence. But if he makes love to her, she will shed some light to his confusion. She will just leave him alone forever. Nathan reluctantly agrees. She tells him to take off all his clothes nude and touch himself. Nathan does what she tells him. She gets undressed naked, begins to touches herself as well, then turns herself into hologram, gets on top of him, rides him seductively and sends electricity throughout his body as she reaches climax. He has a major orgasm. Nathan demands to know the truth even though he can't feel his balls. She puts him in a trance. Nathan begins to remember the past, especially a girl named Sienna, immediately blocks his memory. But Scarlett VOS shows him a clear video of the past. Nathan sees Sienna that he once romanced. They were together at a drama class. They kissed on the stage, became lovers, exchanged a couple of love letters, made out with kisses here and there. He took her virginity and betrayed her, secretly began to see her best friend Naomi. Nathan and Naomi had sex in the backstage. Sienna saw them, later slit her wrist and committed suicide. Nathan, who was so miserable, withdrew from society. She was the most popular girl in the school. Nobody understood why she committed suicide. They talked about her on the news for weeks. He felt responsible for her death and began to talk to an anchor woman that covered Sienna's story. Sienna also told him that she wanted to be a reporter if acting doesn't work out. Nathan actually talked to a couple of anchor women till he watched Scarlett. She looks exactly like Sienna. Nathan asks Scarlett VOS if she is Sienna. She tells him she is Sienna, his fantasy and his conscious. He is lost. She is beloved Scarlett, his imagination, his dream, his fear, his passion, and pain. He can't believe what she is telling him. She adds she is a goddess, the princess of darkness and everything. He would never truly understand her. Yet she tells him it's not his fault, wishes him the best and disappears. Nathan and Scarlett Johansson take a vacation in Tahiti and kiss in the beach. The end. Kate, that's a very interesting story. Adrian, I was head over heels in love with Scarlett Johansson. When she did Spike Jonze's Her, I thought it was alright. I mean it's a very good movie, but I said, don't expect us to watch a movie without the sexiest woman alive. You know, just her voice, no Scarlett Johansson. Robert De Niro in Goodfellas told me what is the world coming to? Are you going to let them get away with that? It's just a voice in my head. What the fuck do they think we are? Don't watch it. Fuck them, fuck all of them. I said, sure, I'm not going to watch it. But another voice told me don't listen to that negative voice. Just sit and watch it. You have nothing to lose. I sat and watched it in my laptop with Luc Besson's Lucy to compensate Scarlett with some screen time. Then later, while I was sitting at a coffee shop, the idea just came to my brain. I mean I made most of it now as I go. Actually, we can make it darker. Part 40. Adrian, suppose Nathan killed Sienna in high school and tormented by guilt, then started talking to anchor women to suppress his pain like Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho till he met Scarlett. Let me keep it romantic. She inspired me to write at least 10 screenplays, smiling seductively at my soul like Twilight in an exotic planet and whispering in my ear with that husky voice of hers. It's like Lauren Bacall right after she smokes cigarette and drinks Rose Martin, but the sweetest ever, and who knows? Some goddess has been gorged on French kiss forever and ever. I can't bring myself into killing Sienna. I am thinking myself in the main character. If she is going to commit suicide, that would be sad. But it's not my fault. I don't want the main characters to turn into psychopaths. I might work on it if I have free time and just go with the flow. Joking, it's going to be romantic, lascivious, and NC-17 or X-rated. Kate, humorously I will go with X-rated. Adrian, it's up to her. Nathan and Scarlett make love every chance they get. Kate, make it psychopathic. I want Scarlett VOS to stalk you. I like how she turns into hologram and has sex with you. That's erotic. Adrian, wait a second. I am not Nathan. I didn't say I was going to play Nathan. Kate, whatever you say, sweetheart. Adrian, humorously nonetheless, she might have ruined the chemistry. You know, she is married and has a daughter. It feels a little bit awkward. Kate, everybody has kids nowadays. It's mother nature. They have to pass on their genes to next generation, can't help it. Adrian, she might get too emotional. Besides, I don't want to piss off her husband. Kate, he's French, doesn't care. They invented sex. Adrian, I didn't know about that. I was told the French are jealous. Kate, it's not your fault he married a porn star. Adrian, that's what I thought too. Kate, you never worked with her? Adrian, no, she always tied up with scheduled conflict. Mostly, I was kind of embarrassed to meet her and show her my work. It's erotic, a lot of nudity, in-your-face sex and all. I thought she wouldn't probably have agreed to do them anyway. Kate, she did nudity in Under My Skin. Adrian, I haven't watched it yet, just saw a preview. She might have stood nude in front of a mirror. It's not clear. I saw it in YouTube. That doesn't count, does it? Kate, I didn't see it either. I just heard people talking. She played an alien who seduces men and sends them to her planet to be used as diet. Adrian, I'd better stay away from her. I don't want to be a meal to some alien named Scarjo. Kate, what was the secret that she was going to take to her grave? Adrian, I don't know it yet. I'll make up something, or just keep it secret. You know, like Citizen Kane Rosebud. Everybody will try to find out what it is. They will continue to guess till they face with their own secrets. Kate, what secret make a girl think you are both God and the devil and wants to have the best sex of her life? Adrian, that's a good question. Why don't you take a wild guess? Kate, did she fuck her teacher? Adrian, I never thought about that. Kate, did she sleep with her brother? Adrian, I didn't know she had a brother. I mean I know she has some kind of twin brother. That's real life. But this is a film. Kate, did she sleep with her uncle? Adrian, no. Kate, did she have sex with two guys? Adrian, I don't know. Kate, what do you mean you don't know? Adrian, I mean even if she did, it's not a big deal. Your friend Betty would probably say, why it's acceptable for a guy to sleep with two or more girls at the same time. But it's forbidden for a girl to have sex more than one sexual partners. It's so unfair. Kate, so what's it? Adrian, it's not really a secret but it's also a secret. It's like Vicky Cristina Barcelona. Juan Antonio says we are meant for each other and not meant for each other. It's a contradiction. I mean I haven't made up my mind yet. But I'm considering this. You know, at least, every girl has a sexual fantasy of her father once or twice without her awareness, like every boy has a sexual fantasy of his mother at early stage of sexual adulthood without their knowledge. Kate, are you suggesting I had fantasized about having sex with my father as well? Adrian, no I am not saying anything. It's not you. It's life. Like you just said, we have to pass on our genes to the next generation. It starts out with our parents. It's buried in the subconscious mind. Our parents are the best teachers. It quickly and naturally fades away as we mature. You know, when we reach our sexual prime and finds mates. It's like a female tiger. A mother watches her caps. She teaches them few tricks that help them survive here and there. She then lets them go on their own when they reach a certain age to find mates, except in our case. It plays out in the subconscious mind. It's a part of our traits and DNA segment coded as instinct. Kate, whatever you say, Sigmund Freud. I don't really know my father very well. My mother and he divorced when I was 5. Later when I visited him, I might have seen him naked, and turned on without my knowledge. I don't remember anything. But it was my mother who shaped my sexuality. She's freak, watches porn a lot with my stepfather. They used to have sex every day. Adrian, I'll think something taboo but innocent. Yet I doubt if there is a secret that makes a girl think that you are both God and the devil. If there is one, it has to be spiritual. You know, forces beyond our understanding. Suppose she did some kind of witchcraft and accessed spiritual dimensions. You know, like worships both God and the devil, sacrifices a swan, drank its blood and had a sex with her boyfriend. But that's lame. Maybe I'll come up with something guilt-ridden but blameless like she kissed her brother in the film. You know, like Angelina Jolie at the Oscar. Kate, that is PG. Adrian, you just put that idea in my head while you were guessing. Kate, if I have a secret that I'll take to my grave, kissing my brother would be the last thing I would worry about. Adrian, I'll just let the audience wonder about it. It's like Catch-22. You don't tell them anything. But they will come to face with their fear and desire while trying to guess what the secret is, even though there might not be any secret at all, or there may be a secret that makes a girl think that you are both God and the devil and wants to have the best sex of her life. That's not really Catch-22. But you get the idea. Kate, what's Catch-22? Adrian, it's a novel by Joseph Heller. Catch-22 is when you find yourself in a situation you can't escape. It's like let's say if I drink coffee, I can't take a nap. But I need to take a nap in order to focus and get something done. So I can't drink coffee. But at the same time, if I don't drink coffee, I will die with headache. That's Catch-22. Kate, you don't really drink coffee, do you? Adrian, once in a while but that's just an example. Kate, I get it. Sometimes, I don't feel like eating lunch in a set. If I eat anything, I will feel sluggish no matter what it's, even if it's salad. I don't want to do anything. But if I don't eat something, I have no energy. I can't focus. Adrian, that's catch-22. I don't like wearing eyeglasses. They make me look like a nerd. But if I don't wear them, I cannot see. Wait, that's not catch-22. You can wear contact lens. Kate, you don't wear eyeglass or contact lens. Adrian, no, I do not. I was trying to give you the best example possible. But that doesn't work. That is catch-33. You are saved by contact lens. Kate, what is catch-33? Adrian, if you have a solution for things that you thought you can't escape, it is catch-33. Jesus died at the age of 33 for our sin. They crucified him. He resurrected from the dead and ascended to heaven. At the same time, while he was on earth, he healed a lot of people, gave sight to the blind, rose people from the dead and turned water to wine. That's catch-33. When you have answer for things that are inevitable. Kate, you just made it up now. Adrian, what can I say? Kate, I might have catch-33. I have to take pills to keep me in check, so I don't go crazy. But if I take them, it makes me drowsy. Adrian, that's catch-22. What's catch-33? Kate, instead taking pills, I must have sex. Adrian, that is catch-33. But you don't really take pills, do you? Kate, no. It's an example. This character I play Naomi in Poison. She is like Angelina Jolie in Girls Interrupted except she's not held captive in mental institution. She is a model in New York City. If she takes pills, she gets quiet and lethargic. If she doesn't take the pills, she will become violent and suicidal. She then finds a cure. She has to have sex as often as possible in order to curb her enthusiasm. Adrian, I have never seen it. Kate, it has not come out yet. You might say I am freak. He smiles softly. Adrian, you are not a freak. You are the most risque woman in the world. Kate, whatever. Adrian, the fairest them of all. Kate, you said something about Jennifer Lawrence getting married to an actor named David in love, romance, and the pursuit of pleasure, is that true? Adrian, no, it's pure fiction. Kate, anyway, you said she is the sexiest woman alive, Scarlett Johansson. Adrian, did I say that? Kate, something like not to expect you to watch a movie without the sexiest woman alive. Adrian, I might have got carried away. You are by far the most fetching woman in the universe. Nothing comes close to as kissable, sensual and flirtatious as thee. Kate, I am flattered. Adrian, I'm in the middle of writing you one of the sexiest roles, Isabella in Quantum Interval. At the beginning of the film, Adonis, the protagonist, loses Isabella, his fiancée, in a planet called Senia. A man named Jason comes to steal his teleportation machine idea, which would allow people to teleport anywhere around the world, shoots her during a struggle. Instead Adonis builds a quantum spaceship that allows him to cut through the fabric of the cosmos, travels through natural wormholes, comes to Earth and meets Earth Isabella who happens to be engaged with a man named Adonis as well. Earth Adonis is an astronaut, lost in space. Nobody knows where he is. Isabella thinks Adonis is her fiancé, returned from the mission. She brings him to her house. But a couple of things are different. Adonis is more romantic than her husband. He is a sex machine in bed, has unbelievable energy and knows a lot of tricks. Isabella suspects he might be an alien but falls madly in love with him, and they continue to have a lot fun. In the end, Adonis tells her the truth that he is from Senia, parallel universe. He creates quantum gate that allow them to access parallel universe, takes her to his universe. They get married and live happily ever after. Kate, that sounds interesting. Adrian, if you don't like that I'll write you Love in a Mist. There are 5 dimensions. Michael is a writer. He lives in all 5 dimensions, going back and forth. 1. He is Mark Antonio in 33 BC. He is in love with Cleopatra. They fall in love at first sight. The relationship between Mark and Cleopatra puts Egypt in power but the love affair insults the Romans who are cautious of the growing powers of the Egyptians. In spite of all, Anthony and Cleopatra get married. Fighting a battle against Romans, Antony gets false news of Cleopatra's death, devastated, takes out his sword and kills himself. When Cleopatra hears about his death, she kills herself with a poisonous snake but Michael would go back in time and change it. 2nd, he is Romeo in the medieval Verona. He and Juliet fall in love. They are secretly married. Sadly, Juliet's cousin Tybalt and Romeo's friend Mercutio have a sword fight. Mercutio is fatally stabbed and dies. Romeo kills Tybalt in revenge. The Prince of Verona banished Romeo from the city. Juliet's father Capulet, who is not aware of Juliet's secret marriage, has arranged for Juliet to marry the prosperous Count Paris. Juliet, who is madly in love with Romeo, drinks a real poison and dies. But Romeo, Michael, kisses her on the lips. Juliet returns back to life. It's a little bit based on If Romeo and Juliet that I just told you. 3rd is set in present time. He is Michael himself, right the center of the story. Michael is in love with Isabella, who is dying with cancer leukemia like Ryan O'Neal and AGA Mulligan love story. This is where Michael goes back and forth without his will. In the meantime, Michael is in the middle of writing a story about parallel universes. Isabella, who is diagnosed with cancer, tries to live a normal life without telling Michael but Michael finds out and pretends he doesn't know about her illness and plays along. It is a little bit different from love story. You know, in love story, he will not tell her that she has leukemia. I never understood that part. I mean if I had a terminal illness, I should be told right away. I am the one who should know about it before anybody. You know, I just don't want to die while making plan for the future. Maybe, they just want to wait and tell her later. Anyway, the fourth is in the year 3000 AD. Michael is a detective named John. He is in love with Emily who is an FBI agent. John and Emily are looking for a serial killer named Austin who can be multiple places at same time. He is like a particle. In the smallest scale, a particle can be more than one place at a time. So does Austin. John and Emily try to solve how a person can be more than one place at a same time. Fifth, Michael is in the year 6000 AD future. He is a young scientist named Louis. Louis owns the first teleportation company that he designed. But the teleportation has caused people to have all kinds of genetic disorder disease. He is being sued for $300 billion damage. In the meantime, Louis falls in love with one of the patients named Iris, who is diagnosed with a rare genetic disorder. Yet she'll manage to overcome the problem with the help of Louis. Louis, disguised as a regular man, visits Iris and falls in love with her. Louis and Iris begin to date, and in order to impress Iris, Louis finishes his time machine that he has been working on, the first time machine ever built, aside from teleportation, which only allows you to transfer matter from one point to another without threading the physical space between them, but the time-traveling machine can let people travel through time. Louis builds time-traveling machine, travels to the future and finds cure for Iris's disorder, then travels to the past and meets Michael, his exact copy. Michael, who's the central character, jumps back and forth without his will. One moment he's with Iris. The next moment, he finds himself in the past with Cleopatra. He then spends 1 or 2 scenes with Cleopatra. He then finds himself in the 4th dimension with Emily, solving murder mysteries. He jumps one dimension after another and lives in all characters. He has no control over his action. In the end, all characters come together. Cleopatra, whom Michael thinks she's the Queen of Egypt, is actually Isabella herself. So does Juliet, so does Emily, so does Iris. You play multiple characters. The moment, Michael realizes he loves Isabella more than life itself. He stops jumping from one character to another, kisses Isabella's lips. Light passes through every inch of her cell. She glows like morning stardust. The kiss cures her cancer completely. Michael and Isabella get married and live happily ever after. The end. Kate, that is interesting. But Sean told me that you wrote one of the best roles in years for Scarlett Johansson, Desert Rose. The film might win Oscar. He smiles softly and kisses her on shoulder. Adrian, he's just exaggerating. It's supposed to be an epic romance but I kept it simple. It's same thing. I wrote it while I was a little bit obsessed with her few years ago. It's inspired by English Patient. Scarlett plays a general wife who goes out and has an affair with a journalist. Kate, tell me everything from the beginning. Adrian, the protagonist is a journalist named Mickey. He is in Baghdad covering the war in Iraq for Yahoo News but also works independently as a photojournalist and columnist. Mickey and Craig are about to interview Mohammed, the leader of ILP, Iraq Liberation Front, who is responsible of a lot of terrorist activities. They are standing in the middle of Baghdad city and waiting for a car that is supposed to pick them up. A white minibus comes and picks them up. A man named Jamal asks them to give him their passports. He will give them after the interview, it's for safety measure. Mickey and Craig give him their passports. The car then stops in the middle of the desert. Another car, black SUV, comes to pick them up. Ali, Mohammed's right-hand man, tells them he can only take one person. He picks Craig, who is a well-known and respectable journalist, to come and conduct an interview with Mohammed. They leave Mickey in the middle of the desert without his passport. Mickey walks miles in the middle of the desert, comes to the main street and asks for a ride. A good Samaritan gives him a ride back to Baghdad where he joins with his crew and Craig's girlfriend Jessica at a bar. Mickey is separated with his wife, Jennifer. They have a 4-year-old daughter named April together. They live in New York City. Mickey thinks about calling them and changes his mind, because of Jessica who is seducing the living hell out of him, despite the fact she is his best friend's girlfriend. Mickey and Jessica spend the night drinking whiskey at the American bar in Baghdad, and talking about all kinds of things, love, romance, life, and stuffs that dreams are made of. Jessica, who has won too many drinks, continues to make advance on Mickey. She is a very attractive woman. She would have been a supermodel if she were 6 feet, but still can pass for a model at 5 feet 6 like Kate Moss. They kiss in confusion. Mickey feels weird. It's wrong. He takes her to her room, apologizes for everything and goes to his room, tries to dial his ex Jennifer at New York City with his cell phone but there is a bad connection, come to a payphone, outside, and calls her. Jennifer tells him to be careful. Mickey just want to talk his daughter. April tells him she missed him. He tells her he loves her very much, hangs up the phone and returns to his room. Next, Mickey and Jessica and the world witness the execution of Craig by Iraq Liberation Front, ILF, on televisions, asking the USA to leave Iraq as soon as possible. Meanwhile, a group of well-trained Marines that consist of Lieutenant William, he is the leader, like Brad Pitt as Lieutenant Aldo the Apache Rain in Inglourious Bastard, Jason, he is a warrior, Mark, he's calm as heroin, Rita, she is like Michelle Rodriguez. You just don't want to fuck with her, Chris, he is one of the protagonists of the film, cool, charismatic and passionate, Tyler, he's as crazy as it gets, doesn't really give a fuck about anything, little bit like Tom Berenger, Sergeant Bob Barnes in platoon but keeps it in check, John, he is smart, likes to read novels and always involves in philosophical discussion, Seth, he is carefree. They arrive in Baghdad. They are the good guys. The army officials assign them to recover Craig's body. They come to a building where Craig is executed, kill a couple of terrorists and recover the body. Jessica can't help crying. Mickey comforts her. Later, Mickey comes to the USA Embassy and asks them for a new passport but they refuse to give him any form of ID without a proper document. Luckily, Mickey runs into a young US counselor named Kevin who happens to be his college friend and is talking to a beautiful young woman named Diana, played by Scarlett Johansson. Mickey and Kevin greet. Kevin introduces Mickey to Diana, who comes to renew her passports. It is love at first sight. He can't take his eyes off her. She is attracted to him. Time stops in their heart. They both gaze at each other without saying as if they knew each other their whole lives. Mickey is taken by Diana's sparkling eyes, delicious lips, matchless beauty, voluptuous body, and sense of sensuality. He just wants to give her a kiss without her permission and get slapped on the cheek to wake up whatever dream he is in. Then all of the sudden time start ticking. Diana has to leave. She excuses Kevin, says bye to Mickey and exits the embassy. Meanwhile, Kevin promises Mickey to issue him a new passport without a bureaucracy. He just tells him he will take care of it personally. However, Mickey, whose heart and soul has been occupied by the thought of Diana, wants to know what she is doing in Baghdad. Who is she? Kevin tells him she is the general's wife and advises him to stay away from her. She is nothing but trouble from her head to her toes, inside and outside. He's joking. Later that day, Mickey sits with Jessica at a cafe, tries to comfort her. She confesses that she might have loved him more than Craig. Mickey appreciates for the thought but Craig was his friend, excuses her to make a call to his ex, Jennifer, and his daughter in the USA. His cell phone continues to have a bad reception. He exits the coffee shop, crosses the street and uses a payphone. At the same time, a bomb explodes inside the cafe. Mickey runs to the cafe to rescue Jessica. He sees people blown to pieces and finds Jessica lying covered with blood. He tries to help her in vain. Most of them are Americans and foreign personalities, covering news and just hanging out. Ambulances arrive at the scene. They take Jessica and those who are injured to America Memorial Hospital. We are introduced to Dr. Melissa, Dr. Richard, Dr. Sarah, Dr. Edward, Nurse Emily, Nurse Lucia, and others. They are our protagonists as well. They do everything in their power and skill to help Jessica and the rest of the victims. They are a little bit like the characters in classic medical drama ER. Shortly, Jessica is announced dead. Mickey is hit by grief, just walks away from the hospital without saying a word. Meanwhile, we find out Dr. Melissa and Dr. Edward are dating. Dr. Richard and Dr. Sarah are lovers. I might have to keep them in the background for the time being. In the other hand, the Marines are assigned to carry out a mission, Shadow Moon in the heart of Baghdad where Nasir and all kinds of terrorists are holding a meeting. Nasir is responsible for the bombing. Mohammed might be present as well. The Marines come flying, get down and infiltrate the place, killing one terrorist after another and arrest Nasir. Mohammed is there but he escapes just in time. During the operation, Jason, Chris's best friend, is shot in the side of his neck. They bring him to the Memorial Hospital. Dr. Melissa and Dr. Richard perform amazing surgery and save his life. In the other end, Mickey returns to the USA Embassy. Kevin gives him a new passport. Kevin, who also knows Mickey is attracted to Diana, gives him an invitation pass to the General New Year party. The President of the USA is guest of honor. He tells him Diana is going to be there, just don't break her heart. At Memorial Hospital, Chris comes to see his friend. Jason tells him they are sending him home. In the meantime, Chris sees Emily, who happens to be tending Jason. There is a sharp pain in his heart. It's love at first sight. Emily thinks Chris is handsome but plays it cool, says hi to him, gives Jason aspirin and walks away from the room without missing a beat. Minutes later, Chris runs it into her at the cafeteria, asks her for a contact information. She gives him the hospital phone number. Katy Perry arrives at Baghdad to entertain the troops for New Year's party like Marilyn Monroe, randomly visits the soldiers, taking photographs and questioning them few personal question like if they have girlfriends and all. She's just having fun, takes pictures with Mark and Tyler and kisses Mark French. The troops make a big deal about it. Meanwhile, the President Robert arrives in Baghdad and meets selective USA military servicemen and women, the best of the best, including Lieutenant William and Rita who represent the USA Marines crop. Chris and Seth take the Army helicopter, come to Memorial Hospital and ask Emily and Lucia to come to Katy Perry's concert. Lucia is Emily's best friend. Emily and Lucia get in the helicopter. Chris and Seth bring them to the camp while Katy Perry's concert is in progress. The soldiers are having the time of their lives. Katy sings, "Part of Me." They boo her, don't like it for some reason. She then stops in the middle and sings, "I Kissed the Girl." They go crazy. Minutes later, Katy sings, "Hot and Cold." Chris can't help but dance with Emily. Seth and Lucia dance together. Everybody is singing Hot and Cold with Katy as if they knew lyrics to the song forward and backward while drinking beers and enjoying each minute. In the other end, Mickey comes to the general party at a palace. He sees Diana talking to her husband. Then the president arrives to the party. The general excuses Diana and comes to greet the president, Robert. Diana looks at Mickey, turns around and walks to the terrace and stand in the patio looking at the spectacular view of the city of Baghdad at night while sipping wine. Mickey approaches her. They greet and strike up a conversation. She asks him what he is doing in Iraq. He tells her he is a journalist. He asks her what she is up to. Diana tells him she is a writer, working on her novel, but she doesn't know what it's about yet. Meanwhile, in the other part of Baghdad, Nurse Lucia is a freak. She dances exotic to Seth and the Marines with Katy Perry yet Emily is romantic. She is with Chris. They come to a lake. On the soundtrack, Teenage Dream by Katy Perry plays. Emily removes her clothes and swim naked. Chris joins her. They kiss in the middle of the lake. At the party, a girl named Amanda sings Ella Fitzgerald's Summertime. At the terrace, Mickey asks Diana for a dance. She takes his hand. They dance slow, gazing eyes to eyes, their lips are almost touching, he can feel the beat of her heart on his lips, she can taste him on her lips. Then an assassin named Fahad shoots the president 3 times. He is quickly appended by the secret services. There is a chaos. Paramedics rush to help the president, who is critical injured but still alive. General George makes sure they got the assassin. He sends 2 officers to take his wife to the house. Mickey asks Diana if he can see her again. She tells him that she is married and to forget about her. She says bye and leaves. The paramedics bring the president to Memorial Hospital. Richard, Edward, and Melissa do everything in their power to save the president's life, who is lying lifeless. Mickey comes to hospital to cover the news. In the other hand, the troops, Lucia, and Emily all hear the news that the president was shot, but officials lie to them. He is in a stable condition and continue the concert. They don't want to give the enemy any ground, as if the president is hit by a shoe. The soldiers continue to celebrate life as if nothing happened. However, Chris flies Emily and Lucia back to the hospital. Emily and Lucia quickly get into the action as reports brawl at the lobby to find out the president's status. In the meantime, Dr. Ahmed, the leading heart surgeon in Asia, rushes to the hospital. He takes over the procedure from Melissa and Edward. Later, Dr. Richard addresses to the gathering reports at the lobby. The president is indeed in a critical condition, but they will put their skills and knowledge to the test and would do everything in their power to save his life. Emily tries to comfort the First Lady, Caroline, who just flew from London as soon as she heard the news. After 19-hour operations, the president's status remained critical. In the interrogation room, General George questioned the assassin Fahad, who was part of the Iraq security team. He refuses to talk. The president is flown to the USA and brought to Johns Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore, Maryland. Mohammed takes the responsibility in international televised video and asks USA to leave Iraq as soon as possible or there will be consequence. In USA, the vice president takes an oath to lead the country. He promises to bring those who are responsible of the attempt on the president's life to justice. Later, Mickey runs into Diana at street market in Baghdad accidentally on purpose. They talk about a couple of things. They shop here and there. He takes a couple of beautiful photographs of her. They visit few interesting places that Baghdad has to offer. They come to Mickey's apartment. They cook, listen to classic Arabic music, dance slow. One thing leads to another. They kiss and make love. Meanwhile, at USA base, Chris and the US Marines are assigned to carry out Operation Red Fox. They are told to arrest Kareem, one of Mohammed's right-hand man. He is the mastermind behind a lot of terrorist activities, including the assassination attempt on the president's life. They come to the heart of the Green Zone. They kill a couple of Kareem's soldiers and arrest Kareem. General George interrogates Kareem, but the man refuses to talk despite the fact USA interrogators use extreme torturing methods. Chris comes to America Memorial Hospital and asks Emily out. He is in love with her. She agrees to go out with him. Chris and Emily, dressed as civilian, visit Baghdad. It's still one of the most beautiful cities in the world and rich with history despite the fact it is torn apart by bombs. In the sense, the war makes it a little bit exotic. It's like Rome during Second World War. Chris and Emily dine at a beautiful restaurant and make love in one of the destroyed buildings. Not only it's seductive but also extremely romantic. They gaze at the stars. In the soundtrack, we hear Arabic love song. They then make spoon, kiss and continue to make love. The next morning, Emily returns back to the hospital. Chris returns to the US military base. In the other hand, Mickey and Diana continue to have hot sexual affair. Diana lies to her husband, who advises her to return to USA, but she tells him she is writing a novel, Love in the Time of War. Later, the CIA officials kill a terrorist named Hussein who was beloved by a lot of Iraqis. There is a big demonstration in the street of Baghdad. Millions of Iraqis ask USA to leave the country, prohibit the killing of Hussein. Mickey covers the news, meanwhile, meets a photojournalist named Angela, played by Angelina Jolie. They sit and have few drinks while conversing about life. They talk about a couple of things here and there. Later, we will learn Angela is a CIA. She just pretends to be a photojournalist to blend in and gather information. Across the street, General George, who is dressed as a civilian, meets with 2 Iraq men, Hussein and Salah, who work for CIA, to find out Mohammed's whereabouts. Then a bomb explodes nearby at a public area. George runs to help instinctively. Mickey photographs everything, captures pictures of George carrying a blooded 12-year-old Iraqi girl. It's heroic, sentimental, and classic. It sums up the image of war. The photo would make it on the cover of Time magazine. The paramedics arrive and take the victims to America Memorial Hospital. Richard, Edward, Melissa, Sarah, Emily, Lucia, and others rush to save victims' lives. Later, after the dust settles, George becomes a celebrity overnight due to the photo. He is interviewed by Larry King about his heroic act but still has a job to do, says they have to win the war against terrorism at all costs. They will not let them breathe, even come in their dreams and hunt them like the devil. It is personal. Next, Chris and the Marines are assigned to carry out Operation Truth, to take out a terrorist group led by Ibrahim. Chris and the Marines infiltrate a mosque where Ibrahim and his guerrilla fighters are hiding. They have a major shootout. Mickey and Angela and other journalists cover the news as bullets fly by them. In the end, the Marines blow up the mosque with rocket, kills Ibrahim and his guerrilla fighters and return to the base. 4th of July, one of the biggest demonstration ever seen in the history of mankind. All the citizens of Baghdad come to the street protesting USA and bombing of the mosque. Lieutenant William takes the responsibility. The Marines begin to question their action. John complains the army is using them. They have no business to be there. He didn't sign for this. Rita puts a gun on John's head and tells him, "We're USA Marines. We don't fucking bleed baby blue, die and go to heaven. We bleed fire and rise hell, motherfucker. If you say one more word about being here as a negative state of mind, I'll fucking splatter your brain to kingdom comes and never returns. God would not fucking recognize you. If he does, it won't be the structure of your fucking neurons." She means it. He understands and stops complaining. Meanwhile, Chris steals a helicopter, comes to see Emily at the hospital and asks her to marry him, but Emily tells him she is not ready. Chris, who is heartbroken, returns to the base. He is placed in a military jail. It's temporary for taking the helicopter without permission. They have probably said nothing but become more cautious due to the bombing of the mosque. Yet since Chris is one of the best Marines they have, Lieutenant William gets him out of jail and brings him back to the team. That night, the troops celebrate 4th of July with firework as the citizen of Iraq continues to demonstrate, burning USA flags and all. Mickey and Diana meet secretly. She tells him they cannot continue to see each other due to her husband's suspicious, but they end up making love. It's seductive, steamy, passionate, as if she couldn't breathe without him, and he could never stop this feeling, his heart were incapable of beating without her. They know they can't live without each other. He makes love to her as if she were the breath of life placed in his soul. After sex, they sit in the bathtub placed in the middle of the living room, talk between soft kisses and kiss intimately. Meanwhile, Ali, Muhammad's right-hand man, and his military personnel storm into the house. They take them away, cover their faces with black hoods, bring them to an abandoned mosque and put them in 2 separate rooms. Ali tells Mickey that they will be executed. Muhammad, himself, vows to execute them personally while billions watching in the international televise, live. It's a retaliation for the bombing of the mosque. CIA agent Angela confirms their whereabouts. The location is El Al Mosque, where Mickey and Diana are kept prisoner. Chris, Lieutenant William and the Marines assigned to carry out a rescue mission. George joins them. They come to the mosque in the heart of Baghdad, have a major shootout with Muhammad's troops. Chris and Lieutenant William kill Muhammad and his bodyguards and free Mickey and Diana. They begin to retreat toward the exit, shooting and killing the bad guys. Yet, Lieutenant William get blown away by a bomb planted by Ali as they are about to exit. He is down. Chris and Ali fight with a well-scripted martial art. In the meantime, Diana reunites with her husband. Yet, General George discovers that she had been shot in the abdomen during the escape. She falls in his arm unconscious. He carries her and places her in a helicopter. The paramedics aid her, try to stop the bleeding. Mickey stands by her. So does George. Chris and Ali continue to fight. Chris then kills him, carries Lieutenant William, who is still alive. They exit the mosque, come to a helicopter. Chris places him in the helicopter. They all get in 3 helicopters and fly away. Diana is brought to Memorial Hospital. Dr. Richard and Dr. Melissa perform surgery on her, removes the bullet from her stomach and save her life. Dr. Edward and Dr. Sarah aid Lieutenant William, who is badly injured. Chris, who is shot in the arm, reunites with Emily. It's a flesh wound. She tends him, tells him she is in love with him and can't wait to marry him. They kiss intimately. The General and Mickey wait for Diana's status. She remains in coma. Later, Diana, who is in oxygen mask, wakes up from coma, sees George nearby. He tells her he loves her, kisses her on the forehead and leaves. Then Mickey walks in. She looks at him, her eyes are filled with tears. He tells her that he needs her more than ever. She removes the oxygen mask. They kiss passionately. The end. Kate, that's romantic. I want to play Diana. Adrian, don't sweat it. I will write you something more romantic than that. They kiss French.